after election, there was a Supreme Court election case, case going on, and the NHIF was like, what do we do now? Because now the court, the CJ, Chief Justice, was to appoint a 3-judge bench to continue the case. But the case now was rendered dead come January 2023, when they said, let's abandon ship, let's copycat the whole NHIF Act and rebrand it to SHIF. And add a few things, infuse, and let's move on now with the future. Now, this future that we're moving to, it is good, yes, but it's some patchy rebranding. In legal engineering, it would be like, it would have just been better to just reform, amend the old act, or finish that, fast track that 3-judge bench on the premise of why should the employers match up contributions to augment the underfunding in the sector, in that insurance health financing. But that did not happen. So we abandoned ship and went into the 2.75 spirit under the SHIF. Our Constitution, Article 43(2) says everyone has a right to health care, emergency care, without any conditions. The state should meet that through our taxes. But now Shif comes and edits, let's say now the Gen Z language, edits the law, the Constitution, by saying that it must be conditional now. That if you don't pay into Shif, you will not get any public service in any sector. And you will also not get any emergency services as per the Health Act and as per the constitutional provisions which are supreme. Now that illegality, we are lucky, we are happy because we participated in that court case. And yesterday, the unconstitutional spirit of that Shif language predicted into that law has now been unionized. But again, the courts are also playing another game. They're suspending Article 2 of the Constitution. Now, anything that is illegal, anything that is unconstitutional, cannot be given more life to exist because we want to probably mark time and rethink ourselves, check ourselves to see whether now we can reinvert that. So that's section 24, 25, 26 that prevented Kenyans from getting emergency care was rendered illegal and unconstitutional pronto. And it was not part of that 45 days leave extended because that should not happen. Again, the other absurdity was the aspect of persons who are not employed. How do they pay into the fund? There was a means testing instrument, an economic tool to probably use the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics on how to check whether persons can contribute into this fund. Let's say you have a TV, what's the size of your TV? You have a carpeted house, or you have a tiled house, you're taking 3 meals in a day, and because of that, I think you probably should pay 1,000 bob into the fund. So this it's a very experimental thing, and in my view, it's going to be really difficult on how to get persons who are not employed covered. And now add the other spirit that if you're not part of the fund, you're not contributing, you get no benefits. So we were like creating a law that will not benefit anyone because there's no one to cover these people. Remember the indigents, the poor people, the elderly, the orphans. Those ones, they are already covered by the law under the National Treasury on those social programs. But what about these youthful people who are not employed and they have no means? You'll judge them on the number of meals they take, the sizes of the TV, the clothes, whatever they have in the household. Again, some of them are still living with their parents, despite the fact they're over like 25 to 28. So that absurdity, we really need to think collectively how to cure about that and either use our general taxes to cover that exposed category of persons. Well, young people don't have many health issues, and the state can consider to cover these people as a block, just based as a means of trying to safeguard them as they go on to make the livelihoods. Now, the other absurdity was outsourcing of public funds. Now, Shif Act was very creatively done. The funds are collected by us, ourselves, we contribute to that pool. But the funds are going to be administered by a private system of persons who tender and become like the overseers in the different zones of as per the law had been drafted. Now, this will be like, they're not insurance companies. They're like insurance agents, but again, they're not like insurance agents. They're like health management organizations, again, not like health management organizations. They're like intermediaries between the fund pool, which is the SHA authority, with the Shif funds, the PHC fund, and the ECCF, emergency care funds. And then you have a go-between person who is a private provider, an entity, like now what manages the TSC and the police service system. So these entities will be rebranded, so many of them, and they'll be like the gatekeepers of where the money would go. Now, remember, these are persons who control the channels. If the channels are controlled by private sector, persons who are not probably accountable to us, because the spirit of that was there's a lot of money that's being lost in the public sector. So let's try and privatize. This is a very strategic privatization tactic. You privatize claims payment to a private provider who's not an insurance, who does not follow any law, and it's only one statement in the Insurance Act that gives them authority to do that. So that was really clouded. That section 35 thereabout in the Shif Act, it really needed to go. And I'm happy that the law is suspended now. And with the hasty public participation that happened, that should never ever happen. Actually, if whatever happened in June 25th, when the parliament was invaded, it should have happened last year, because things were really, really hot and bad. National Assembly took its public participation to Makueni. The Senate took its public participation to Turukana. And if you had submitted your documents, a memorandum, you had to make a trip to these places to do your physical presentations. And remember, during that time, the health laws, they were given like 7 days to submit and make appearances. Short time, no money to move around to go and make those submissions. So, and the laws were passed, and that was it. Within like 14 days, the bills became law. And here we are now today, 2 years, 1 year later plus, and the laws are suspended. We are happy, but the courts are playing a game of suspending Article 2 about the constitutionality and how laws should be filtered. If the laws are finally made, the system of law, as per the Constitution, should filter such laws and not give them some leash of life as we try to recreate or reenact some of the sections that were found unconstitutional. So that should not happen. So as I finish, I want to say the future is public. We should all work together to champion the rule of law. And we champion the safeguard of public services, because it's public services that buffer us whenever we're exposed out here. And let's strive to get a Kenya that works for all of us, the youth, the elderly, the children, and the retirees, everyone, the police, KDF, and all those people who are out here in the country. We have to make Kenya work for us. And if our leadership is not accountable, we must call out misgovernment, misadministration, any day, any day. It is our duty as per that Article 1 of the Constitution. Thank you. Back to you, Chair. Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. I think we should...
Dudley, Dudley, your mic is on?
Gonza, floor is yours.
We can hear you. Dudley, you can assist with the next speakers.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Clearly.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam President, Faith Adhiambo of the LSK. Thank you very much also for the good job that you've been doing, especially during the period when people are still being abducted, and the job that all the LSK volunteer lawyers have been doing. We can see that right now we've made some little bit of achievements. We've seen heads roll a little bit, but I would just like to mention that we still need more concessions from the side of the executive. We have seen extrajudicial killings. We saw hooded men in parliament shooting at people who are only carrying placards and everything else. I would like to still mention that we need to still push more on that so that we can find out who these people are. We have these people brought to book, and we need to see police officers charged, the guys who shot. I understand that there are regulation established by the National Police Service Act, and the power on use of weapons. And if indeed it is true that any police officer who uses live ammunition should report the same to their commander, then it is indeed true that the leadership of the police officers are able to get these guys and have them charged. Also, I was listening a little bit earlier on, and I had a military or a police officer speak on the space, and I was a bit taken aback by his contribution, in which he was trying to urge us to go slow on matters of war and everything. And I was left wondering, what was this concept about the war and everything, and how we've never been in a place where Somalia is. As far as I've been concerned, we have no reason to compare Kenya at all with Somalia. I was born and I already found Somalia fighting. It has ever been a failed state all along. There is no serious similarity between Somalia and Kenya. Kenya has always been a progressive country, especially us who grew up during the Kibaki era. We did not see so much of the things that are happening in Somalia now. And I would like to remind each and every one of us that whatever we are getting in from the government now and from our current constitution is actually the bare minimum. The freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, the things that we are demanding from the government, it's not a favor that we are getting, that we should be fearing that there is likely to be a war. What kind of war? There can't be a war between a few government machineries and the citizens themselves, who are just trying to exercise their right to express themselves and just to exercise their rights to be heard. And that is why in the new constitution, the name of the former Kenya Police Force was renamed to be a service, essentially for them to provide a service to the citizens and not to be at war with them. Also on the issue of property, I like to bring to us the consciousness that this idea that somebody lost property, somebody lost a business, somebody lost anything, in my opinion, that idea should never rise in a case where we are talking about loss of life. Because you cannot buy life. You can't do anything to a life that is lost. Once somebody dies, they have died. But the people who lost property can be compensated. They can still make more property. They can still work. Even the government itself, right now, they already gave a report saying that they'll repair the damages in parliament with I don't know how many billions. Where are these billions coming from? It is from the taxpayers' money. There's no other way that the government collects money. So that through taxpayers' money and borrowing. Now, if you've shot and killed 20-something-year-old children for getting into parliament and demanding to be heard by their MPs, then through their tax or the tax of their parents, again, you're going to repair the parliament. How then do you justify that property was lost or anything? Or that people ate food in parliament, people ate rice and beans, and all those foods have been bought by the taxpayers' monies. And therefore, there is no reason or justification whatsoever for the loss of life. And the speech by that police officer made me understand why police are still so much fascinated with killing people and shooting people. If that is still the reasoning, I think we need a lot of education in our police service, because it's not even a service. I think the name changed, but the police is still a force and a brutal force. And I think there will need so much education. If you compare with what happened in America in January 6th, I think 2021, when I think Biden won the election and he was supposed to be sworn in, and supporters of Donald Trump attacked is it Capitol Square, where the seat of power of the parliament is. We do not have even one case of anybody dying, and that was almost an act of insurrection, let alone this one of Kenya, whereby people were demanding the dropping of the finance bill, of the punitive finance bill. So I think the mentality of our police and all our military people, it takes me so much. It really shocks me if that is what they still think, and they tell us that as Kenyans we are enjoying. We are not enjoying. People have fought all through, ever since the time of 1992 or the Sabasabas, even before we were born. People were always fighting for what Kenyans have today. So we still need to keep on the fight. We still need the IBC reconstituted so that we can start the process of recalling the members of parliament who voted against what the citizens had instructed them. We need the leadership to start working for us and not to work for the appointing authority or party affiliations. Also, I had a concern on the Auditor General. The Auditor General does a good job at the end of the day. But normally, I do wonder: is there a gap between what happens to the report of the Auditor General? Is it that I think the Auditor General presents this report to Parliament, but we never see action on the report? We just see that there's a report made on TV that the Auditor General pointed corruption in counties, in national government, but we do not see it picked up. I don't know whether it's supposed to be picked up by the DPP or after parliamentary committee also investigates. We just see those reports end up disappearing also. Then also I had a concern on the audit of the public debt, and I don't know if Madam President will correct me later on. It was my considered opinion that the Presidential Task Force on the audit of the debt should have proceeded, other than have the Auditor General audit the debt and release the report. Then we do not see so much happen to the Auditor General's report. It's like it's normally just goes to Parliament and just gathers dust there. As I conclude, I'd like to urge each one of us to just keep on pushing. Let's push more. Let's just get more concessions from the government. Let's proceed with the pushing of the reconstitution of the IEBC so that we can begin the process of recalling the members of parliament who do not work for the people, so that as we move forward, we can have a government that works for us, and we can see more of common sense leadership in the government of Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gonza. We'll have Dr. Victor Kiplimo, followed by Mark. What Mark says. And perhaps if you could use 5 minutes, because I see there are a lot of requests on the mic. 5 minutes, Dr. Eric.
All right. Thank you so much for giving me this space. I don't have much submissions. First of all, I want to thank Law Society of Kenya, led by Faith Adhiambo. Thank you so much for not sleeping with the government. I know maybe by any chance the government tried to come and like be with their side, but thank you for being independent. Thank you so much. For those people, if you're present here and you voted for Faith, thank you so much. Secondly, I know what's happening in Kenya. It's so good. We want to make those seats not. We want to let us make these seats not. Let us not make these seats for like for each and every, like nowadays you find people with good professions, they just want to leave their profession and join politics because they want to go and loot, because they know that's the only way to loot and be rich and just make your lineage be that of Kenyatta family. Like each and every politician, even now, the way Ruto does things is he wanted to loot. That's why he walks around the wall just to go and meet. Like the other day, he met Joe Biden. He wants just to pocket so that he be rich and his family be known all over the world for centuries. And that should not be the way. Secondly, I know most of the Gen Zs are in streets simply because they are educated and they are jobless. You know, the way Kenya is, we shouldn't be having a jobless Kenyan, because the amount of money that politicians do loot, if that amount is to be made, like if we are to make companies, for example, we can make lots of companies which will consume all the youth of this country, and no one will be jobless, because we have got farms, you know, we have got farms, we have got space in our country. If you can build industries, because I've come and discovered that in Kenya, we import many things. We import very fucking like stupid things which we can't be importing. Like even like things like diapers. We have cotton, we grow cotton, we can make our own companies and produce these things. And if we make companies, if we like for example, if we are to make companies, we will employ many people. Another thing is, let us make these seats. A time has come for we Kenyan people to make a minimum wage for our people, for our country. For example, There is no way a teacher will be earning 20,000, politician is earning 1 million, a doctor by profession, a doctor doing surgeries, being paid like fucking 200,000, and a fucking politician is paid 1 million. You know, that doesn't make sense at all. So we have to. There is a lot, like there's a lot of messes in our country. I don't know. It's only that. Thank you.
I hope you can hear me.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll speak in regards to a little bit about the movement, and maybe to shed a little bit of light on what we should be.
That's okay. You can use 5 minutes. You'll be followed by command.
We will.
Speaker who talked about the public debt, and I just want to say that we shared our reasons why we felt as a law society we could not be part and parcel of the task force, and we give recommendations as well, separately to the head of state. And we're willing to engage. However, there needs to be a change on how that task force is set. We always want to have some level of credibility even as we get involved, which I agree we should have even more robust discussions on the public debt, which is something that should not die. And hopefully, we'll be able to organize a citizens' assembly, particularly on the public debt, amongst other topics that have been raised. And we'll get also different experts from different sectors to also speak on this and raise the current status and how different professionals can plug in, and what kind of process would you want to see there for there to be proper public participation and the members of the public to understand where we are with the public debt. I saw Redemptor with your hand up, then Mark.
Thank you
Let's keep
very
it
much.
2 minutes. Yes.
I'll be very quick because my passion is extrajudicial killings and the impacts of these killings in society. And the person who has triggered me to want to talk is someone who said he's a soldier. And ametuanzisha vita ya kisaikolojia, which is what our generation was beaten up with. The guilt tripping of peace is very important. And I think justice is really more important than peace, because when you don't have justice, you have no peace. In an ideal situation, not ideal, the common situation where people know they're soldiers, like America, every time they meet with a soldier, they say, thank you for your service. And so I would have thought if he was a policeman, he would have talked about maandamano, because he asked a question, how do you do maandamano? And then the psychological warfare is where even the head of state goes, loss of property. And what I think we need to address as lawyers, as psychologists, as sociologists, journalists, is the narrative. There is no justification in the world for extrajudicial killings, and we should never entertain that conversation. Anybody who comes and shows us the poster boy of destruction of property should not be entertained when we want change. I have seen the fathers of devolution here. The people we say thank you for your service in Kenya, sadly, I'm saying sadly is because of the brokenness, is human rights defenders, legal organizations who give us legal aid, because they're always putting off fires. We will not have a problem trusting the army if their allegiance is to the country. But what we have is police forces, they are not services in these instances of Mandamano, who are only loyal to regimes or political lineage. I'll tell you I'll make it very quick, a very short story. When the inquest of Stephanie Mora happened in 2021. It had taken 4 years. The courts were locked down because of Corona. We were 7 people in that court. And I think the legal people, the magistrate, the judge, and were about 4. We were only 2 citizens in that, and 1 media person. And when the magistrate was the judge was reading the ruling, he said it is certain that a policeman shot Stephanie Mora. If anybody wants, they can inbox. I'll find the ruling and I can share it, because it is relevant for the psychological warfare they beat us with, telling us that we need, we say justice is our shield and defender, and justice should be a very good defender. So good that we don't think of the army being with us. And I dare anybody who's in power today to allow the police to go to the streets without any instructions. And they will see how the citizens will bond with the police. So if someone asks, how do you do mandamano? Is you don't give instructions to do harm. My story is that when the judge read made his ruling, he said that he's very certain that a police officer shot Stephanie Mora. But he gave something called a blue code of conduct, where police, for their self-preservation, protect each other. So it's a code of silence. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I want to tell you a story that we can use to educate the police, that we are not blind to the thing that citizens don't harm police. Because if they did, they would be outnumbered, like Boniface Mwangi says sometimes. And the story I want to leave with you is that on the day Stephanie Mora was shot, when the OCS of, is it Muraiga, came to Madare to confirm the incidents, the mob came, thousands and thousands of people. That was not captured in the inquest, but I know the story because I interacted with the aftermath. And when the policeman was accosted by these thousands and thousands of people, it was the father of the child who was still lying on the ground with a bullet through her heart that protected that OCS. Because the mob would have lynched. He would have let the mob lynch him. And the injustice of why we have to change narratives is when it was the turn of that OCS to return the favor to Mr. Mukaya, he chose to stick to the blue code of conduct and not disclose who that police officer was. So I do not want anybody to come and beat us up again when we're having a discussion about extrajudicial killings and then bring the issue of destruction of property. It is not fair on a day like this when we are trying to make sense of how do you justify with political rhetoric, with guilt tripping, with telling us war is very bad. You create war when you have unjust systems. So I will also take this opportunity to thank the fathers of devolution whom I've seen and who might hear me say, thank you for your service. This constitution is being tested in the hands of the wrong person, the person who has no regard for rule of law, then extrajudicial killings will happen. And I pray that this comes to a stop. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak again. And you can see I'm very passionate about the impact of killings in our society. We are raising a very angry generation, and the Gen Alpha will carry the pain of the Gen Zs if we don't do right by them. And that's what I'm pleading the ruling class. You have to do right by this generation. You guilt tripped us with religion. You
Thank
made
you,
us feel
Ridanta.
like
Let's
the
have
Lord has
Mr.
done. Thank you,
Komanzo,
thank
and
you.
then let's talk law, followed by final liberator. Komanzo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Churchley. Thank you, Dudley, and the panel and all the listeners. One, I'd begin with saying that today I went to Quarry, where they were retrieving some of those bodies. And what I saw there was pretty much disgusting. It should not repeat in this country. Two, thank you so much, Madam President Faith, for all the decisions you've made and your leadership of this moment. I think it was a long way coming. Thank you so much. I very much laud what you've done for the society and the country. Now, today I came by a book. It's called The Leaderless Revolution. and in there they were talking about participatory governance in the 21st century. The book, The Leaderless Revolution, is written by one gentleman called Khan Rose, and is talking about how ordinary people will change society in the 21st century and how they'll take back power. It's a book that I'll encourage everybody to read. Now, about participatory governance, in Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya, we know that public participation is one of the principles of governance, one of the values of our country. And it's because the current political class and leadership does not understand that. That is why we find ourselves in this situation we are in. We had a parliament that had all our protests. Everything we were saying we do not want the Finance Bill 2024. But they still went ahead to pass it, and people broke into parliament, and chaos erupted in the country. People were killed. In fact, it's suspected that some of the bodies in the Kware were those people who died in the Githurai massacre. So how do we entrench this public participation? While we are seeking solutions for the current stalemate in the country, I think we need to look at developing systems to keep leaders accountable. We can leverage on the power of technology, and that is what Kandros advises when he talks about leaderless revolution in the 21st century, because systems can use communication platforms like Twitter, Facebook, to mobilize and organize around an idea and present a very formidable force that can counter any act of bad governance. So, Madam President, with your leadership, I would like that you take the bull by its horns. And as we're having this conversation in the country, we look at grand corruption and how it has affected governance and the well-being of citizens. And everybody who might have stolen and put us in this crisis to be held accountable. If they are deceased, then some of their properties can be nationalized or sold off to take care of part of our debt. Number two, we could look at leveraging technology. Some people have proposed using blockchain-based systems to provide electro technology that we can use in the right time. So I wouldn't exhaust all the ideas here. It's good that you are listening. We'll keep this conversation going. But the two most important takeaways that I would propose here is that first, let's build systems for participatory governance, and two, let's base it on technology that is tamper-proof, that cannot be interfered with, and let every professional society, every professional, do their duty in helping our country move forward. Thank you so much, and God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, Komanza. I give the floor to Let's Talk Law, followed by Final Liberator.
Thank you, Dudley, and thank you, Madam President, for having this space. My name is Advocate Dora Msengeti. I'm the founder of Let's Talk Law Kenya and Msengeti Advocates. So I'll try to keep this very brief. I want to highlight three things. The issue of KRA and data privacy, issue to touch a bit on conflict of interest bill, and then finish off with the Shif story, because I spent months on research on the Shif story, did articles, did threads, did a YouTube video, so I won't talk much about that except a few things. So first, the issue I'm bringing up, the reason I'm bringing up the issue about KRA and data privacy is because I want to highlight something to everyone, and that is this government, even though sometimes it looks like it's doing things haphazardly, they have a plan and an end goal in sight, which is not very favorable for us as citizens. Using the example of KRA, I don't know how many people know that in 2021, KRA officially started something called social media monitoring. If you look it up, you will find they continued doing that through 2021, continued perfecting it in 2022, where now they started incorporating technology, AI, blockchain, and all of that to really hone in on monitoring people who are compliant and or non-compliant with, your tax payments, according to what they say. In 2023, they introduced the paramilitary trained, what were they called? Revenue service assistants, who were basically KRA officers that were empowered to come to your place of business and ask you a bunch of questions to see whether you are compliant when it comes to tax issues. And these were military trained, remember. In 2024, they wanted to pass through the finance bill provisions that would have given KRA the authority, the power to literally have access to almost, if not all, of your personal data. So they start monitoring you in 2021. They start incorporating technology to monitor you many different ways in 2022. They bring in military trained officers and give them the same powers as police officers. I did a trade on this also in 2023. And then in 2024, they try to get access to all of your data. Do you see a pattern? Do you see how they're going? If you can connect the dots, then you can see and understand how this government is operating and where they're trying to go. So any move they make, you need to look to see what has been done before, and you need to be able to think, where are they trying to head with this? In what way are they intending to oppress us ultimately with this move? When you go to the conflict of interest bill, we've had a lot of talk about, especially after the Senate did their voting to amend some sections. Now, I have spent a couple of days going through the entire bill, and I found some sections that I thought were quite nice, especially because the laws that we had before were not as thorough. But I have only just started going through the amendments that the Senate made. Now, just from the conflict of interest bill itself, I thought there are sections that we should be aware of so that we can know where and why to make noise when the amended bill goes from Senate to the National Assembly, because I think there are sections that were amended and or deleted by the Senate that should remain there for the sake of accountability. The conflict of interest bill contains a lot of provisions, and it is founded on Article, I want to say 75, Chapter 6 of the Constitution, where it says that a public officer, as they go on about their duties, should do so in a way that they avoid conflict of interest between, their private interest and the interest of the public. Now, the conflict of interest bill explains what conflict of interest is in a more thorough way than the previous acts, the Public Officers Ethics Act and the Leadership and Integrity Act, and it really gives more details. But however, there are provisions that I think we should note. The first one of those provisions being that in the conflict of interest bill, these people will have to be making declarations about their wealth. If you remember correctly, some days ago, Murkomen, before he became jobless, had said something about having a lifestyle audit bill or something of the sort. And I thought that was quite ridiculous, because that is something that has already been covered in the conflict of interest bill, where when they come into let's say if it's a member of parliament or something, because the act covers public officers, both appointed and elected. If they come into office, when they come into office, they have to make a declaration of, sorry, is that my time up?
Yeah, just wind it up.
Okay. They have to make a declaration of their income when they come into office, and this whatever they have to make a declaration of is in the schedule 2 of the act, and they have to make a periodical declaration every 2 years, and even when they leave office, they make a final declaration. There is also provisions there about public collections, aka harambes. The president recently gave a directive. If this law had already been implemented since it was introduced in April 2023, then there would already be a provision there preventing them from holding harambes, using even their social media. It has covered that. There are a lot of provisions there that we need more education about so that we can be aware of. And even with the Shif that has been declared unconstitutional now, and I don't know why, like Wakili Daktari said, why they are giving the government leeway to correct something that has already been declared wrong. But there are, as they say, they are going to do public participation. There are things there that we need to be aware of so that we can say no to them. We missed them the first time around. Is the sections that said we can't access healthcare unless we are paid up to the Shif, and it's already been made mandatory to be a Shif member. And the sections that say that you cannot access essential government services from the national and county level if you're not paid up. Now they're saying it's only unconstitutional up to the point where you would be denied emergency services. But can you think of all the essential services that you may require from your county or national government that you would be stopped from getting if you haven't made your payments to the Shif? I think it should extend beyond just getting medical services. And then there's the other thing of, in that same Social Health Insurance Act, as much as they had said that the government is supposed to be responsible for covering the payments for the extremely poor, the indigent, they had also sneaked in a provision there where they said that those who are not able to keep up with their payments have what are the words, financing opportunity, something like that, from the government. Only later this year, the Ministry of Health released an infographic about the Social Health Authority, and they were saying that people will be able to borrow from cooperatives and the Hustler Fund so that you can make your payments to the Shif. So this is what they meant by giving people financing opportunities, that they were going to make you take loans from the Hustler Fund to make payments to the Shif after they have made it mandatory for you to be a member to the Shif and not get any health services or essential services from the government if you don't you're not paid up. So there are still sections in there that we need to take note of. Watch my YouTube video, read through the highlights, the threads, they're all there. We've been sharing legal information since 2020, 2021, and we'll continue to do so. As I finish, I have one request. There are many people who are trying to educate people about the laws as they come up. Someone like me, I do all this and I'm one person. So this is a request to Madam President and everyone here who's listening who might be interested. If you can help in any way so that we can have, if you're willing to work, I don't have resources to pay, but if you're willing to help with research, with presentation, with any way, I do this out of passion. Madam President, if there's a program that can come from LSK to support those like me that are doing this, we would gladly take it up. And that said, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for the opportunities to speak. Let's keep going. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's talk law. I give the floor to Final Liberator. It'll be followed by Mark and Okat. Final Liberator.
Thank you for the opportunity. You can hear me?
We can hear you and you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I need to base my points or argument on the principle of cause and effect. We need to keep that in mind as I deliberate. Whatever we are dealing with at the moment, bodies being retrieved from feeds and quarries, many deaths, maiming and injuries which have occurred, which I pass my sincere condolences to those who have lost their lives. These are effects of a cause which triggered all this. At the moment, we are going to pick it up from the effect and they run with them, forgetting or leaving behind without asking ourselves what led to this. Then at the end of the day, we might not get the best alternative as to why we found ourselves here. Just to pick it up from what happened last month, is that the reason as to why, as a country, we are into this, the cause was an exorbitant and a reasonable finance bill, which was passed by Parliament and taken for assent by the President. We need to note that a budget, a finance bill, a budget of a country, it's not done by the members of the country. We need to note that. It's done by Treasury. And to be specific, a budget for public entities is usually meant by procurement professionals. Procurement professional. The moment the various sectors of the government, agencies, arms, the moment they come up with the budget of what of what they need to spend or do in the next fiscal year, then that the budget is given for to Treasury for the procurement guys. Once they have come with the bill of requirement, then it's upon the procurement professionals who are supposed to do market survey, market research, to come up with the pricing to determine the prices or the amount which will be spent in the next fiscal budget. And then this is given to members of Parliament so that they can deliberate and all that. And then, having said that, I'm going to my other moderator, Mr. Mano or Lawyer Mano. There is a colleague who spoke earlier on with regards to professional bodies. And what Mr. Mano told him in his response, he told him that for professional bodies, he quoted some of few, the LSK, the medics, quoted those likes of professional bodies, they are doing their part. And he said that you guys, the other professionals, if you feel that your profession is not doing now, kindly go and talk to them so that they can pull up their socks. I'm happy that Madam Faith, who has been very robust, she's listening. That procurement professionals, 70% of the Republic of Kenya budget is expended through a procurement process. And if you see members of the citizen come here and tell you as a vibrant professional body that indeed we have a problem with other professional bodies, and then you just tell them go, then it means that we are trying to say that we are not keen. We can deliberate on so many things, but most of these, even the sacking of the CSEs and what have you, and whatever actions will follow, those are effect. The cause is that the 70% of public funds which are expended through procurement processes. And by procurement processes, this is where all the monies and lifestyles, all the corruption, bribes, and each and everything we are seeing happening, and the extortion and everything, the 70% which is being extorted, it means that that's
Thank you
where.
so much.
Let
We can
me
move to Mark and Okach. Molly will come after that. Mark, I give you the floor. You'll be followed by Okach and Molly.
All right. Thank you. So I'll touch on three things. The first one is the debt situation. The second is on political representation. And the third one will be on the professional bodies. So I'm glad that Madam President actually brought up the issue of how we are addressing the matter of debt. And I think the conversation needs to shift from how can we pay this debt and to actually discussing what are the avenues that we have not to pay this debt. A few years ago, about a decade ago, Somalia were the beneficiaries of a debt forgiveness program. In addition to that, there are also a group of Indian farmers who successfully sued the IFC a few years ago. So there is precedent to establish that this debt should not be paid. Because if we look at it critically, it would be as if we are in a membership in a neighborhood association, and the president of that neighborhood association borrowed money to build roads and to install drainage. But still, 10 years later, we have no roads and we have no drainage. So why is it that we, the citizens of Kenya, are suffering because Murkomen wanted to buy a Rolex? It makes no sense. There is no logic underpinning that under law, under economics, under finance, none whatsoever. So I think as a country, the next step that we should be preparing to take is tabling a lawsuit against the IMF, because we all know these are people with degrees from the best institutions in the world, with 10, 20, 30 years of practice in finance, economics, accounting, all of these things. There is no way that they loaned that money to the government of Uhuru and Ruto, not knowing that none of these projects were being done. So for the representatives of LSK on this call, if that is something that is in the process or is something that you feel you are able to lead on, I think that would be a great next step, not just for us, but in terms of precedent of what can be done at a global and at a continental level. The next thing that I'll speak about is the issue of political representation that we have in this country. Now, it's no secret that we were a colonial state, and as a result of the colonialism that we faced, the duties and the responsibilities of those who occupy political posts have been subverted and become subject to a lot of misinterpretation over time, which is why so many people think that the role of an MP is, organize a harambe, pay my school fees, and so on and so forth, to the point where we've become very overrepresented as a country. We have more than 300 MPs, 47 senators and governors, over 2,000 MCAs. That alone is over 2,500 political representatives, not counting how many people are employed in civil service. And that in and of itself is a problem, because when you ask yourself, how is it that Mike Mushiri, an influencer, was able to get more civic education than these 2,500 political representatives? So with the coming of the next government, I think this is also something that should be in the works. We need to significantly trim that load that we have politically. And it should be done by government. I've heard the lady from Let's Talk Law asking for someone to help her to do civic education, and she's doing a great job. And so is everyone else who is trying to do so at this point in time. But that should be a public function. It should have been, and it should be moving forward. And I think moving forward, any kind of political representative at any level should be tasked with making sure that a translated version of every bill that is going to be passed in Parliament should be available to the people that they represent. So if you represent someone in Kiambu, it should be available in the language that they speak there. And then lastly, with the professional bodies, I'll be quick. It's no secret that very many of them are in bed with the government. I applaud Madam President for rejecting the call to be on that task force, but we also need to talk about the remuneration issue for young professionals in Kenya. It's no secret that a lot of people are struggling. And the reason why this is so important is because the right or the capacity to fight for your rights, to protest, these things are privileges. Over the past few weeks, we've had maybe 10 different protests. There's not very many Kenyans who can miss 10 days of work within the space of 1 month and still have enough money to pay their rent and to feed themselves. And so to the professional bodies, you owe it to the future population and to the current one to ensure that people are remunerated fairly and that they do not face roadblocks in progressing in their careers. And I'll close it there. Thank you for the mic.
Thank you, Dudley. Dudley, are you there? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Hear you. We can.
I think Dudley has dropped. Perhaps we can have two last interventions before I call upon the president to give her closing remarks. I'll give this microphone to Okach. Okach, are you there? Safe. Is it safe? Safe, you can hear me. You have the microphone. Kindly proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, Manwa, can you hear me?
The period to 2 minutes, kindly. Yes.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I would like to send my condolences to every family who has lost his beloved ones. I mean, to be honest, Kenya is at a critical juncture in its life. It's a very sad situation of what we are seeing. But all this has been a problem coming in through different kind of angles. Because if you look at the current government setup itself, starting from the budget to even the professional bodies, I mean, to be honest, the jobs that they do is, I mean, terrible. Because what tuanze at on a budget. The amount I think that we have on the budget is around 3.9 trillion, if I'm not wrong, or 4 trillion. Out of 4 trillion, I think 10% only goes to counties and 90% is in the national government. So if we go by that, the lootings that happen inside counties is terrible in itself. And this sets the precedence for national government to be doing the same thing as well. So I mean, in totality, first of all, if we start with counties, we need to get rid of this nonsense. Devolution has been a curse in this nation. Wacha tuanzie hapo. As of MPs, we can see clearly what's going on with them. Saizi wanateseka, there is a problem here and there. We need constitutional amendments, capital punishment iletwe, wacha watu wafungwe, wacha watu wauliwe, so that we have a country that respects the rule of law. You pussy where people, you can't be having, so I don't know, 4 million acres, another person. And then, to be honest, kwanza hii law firm, it's good that, Madam President, you are the one who is deliberating, and you're moderating this thing. Law firms have been used to sanitize. Yeah, in fact, if anything, I think money laundering majority inapitia law firms. Let's say the truth. If you look at some parastatals, pesa zote zinapitia law firms. Majority of the looting. Out of the 9.2 trillion that we have borrowed since 2012, I can swear close to half, aside from ile yenye imelipa ma salaries, half of that money that was borrowed has been laundered, or the conduits have been through law firms. So I don't know how we're going to deal with such things going forward. Na kama ni counties, can we reduce them to 10? Then kama tatoa devolution nzima. But we need to have a conversation around this thing. 10, Northeastern mbili, Rift Valley mbili, Coast maybe mbili, Central moja. Western moja, Nyanza moja, Nairobi acha ikuwe national government hiyo, and then hapa Eastern pia 2, 10 imeisha. Why should we have 47, I don't know, county governments? And then on top of it, sijui senators 47 and then nominated women reps, sijui I don't know MCAs karibu 1000 ngapi. And then every county has sijui ministry of 10, 20, 30 ministries or something like that, or I don't know. You know, you have livestock and fisheries in areas hata sijui hata maji zinakaaje. Hizi vitu ni hasira tupu tu inaleta, because I've seen some of these people, the amount that they've stashed abroad is shocking. And in the same nation, you have people who haven't even eaten, I think, for 2 days or 3 days. We can't have such a country. Nchi ambayo haijielewi. So we need to kidogo sahizi is the fact that we are on this renaissance mode. We need to move this country in a different trajectory. The trajectory that we have set for people has been terrible. Going forward, I think we will have people who will have the public service at heart. People will join in to serve the people genuinely and not to come here as a commercial venture. We have had MPs who are broke the other day. Today they have a chopper. Another one is driving, I don't know, Lexus 600, another one a G-Class. And they move in such big cars. For what reason? Ya kazi gani? And these people, you can clearly see they have not made any industry hawajatengeneza kitu yoyote ambao you can attest the money to. So we are really, tunacheza jamani, within 10 years of this constitution, Kenya is on its knees. We are in a coma. Hatuwezi endelea nayo. Constitutional amendments is a must. Let's get rid of all these positions. Some of them are useless. Na tulete heshima. Hizi positions imeleta kiburi. Kenya is the only country ukisikia all the rich people, majority of them, they're politicians. I don't know, you hear the Mois, you hear the Kenyattas, you hear the Nyachais, you hear the Biwots, I don't know, Degwas, all this manner of people have gone through, I think, public in politics tu ni maundia pesa. Other countries, at least utasikia watu, utajua ni biashara. You go to Tanzania, here more doji, you can see more cola, more brand, more what. Unaona kabisa there are industries that can be attributed to them. Hapa lakini jamani ni ukora. Anyway, Nisao, I think my 2 minutes are done. I wouldn't want to take much of the time. Thank you very much. And
Thank you very
well
much.
done, Madam President, for what you're doing.
Thank you. Aaron, do you have the microphone? Molly, kindly.
Hey,
Kindly proceed.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Molly, and I know that a lot of people have spoken about so much that there's nothing deep enough that I would say that it would even be deeper than what everyone has said. So all I want to say is encourage everyone. I'm very sorry for the deaths. I watched that today, and it's almost like your heart sinks so low, and some days you feel like it can't sink low, and you get up and there's even more things to make our hearts sink. I'm very sorry for the families that are going to face that, to hear about their loved ones that they will never see again. So I'm quite sorry for that. Yesterday I watched a morning show on Spice FM before I went to bed, and there was a speaker, a Sudanese representative, and he spoke about the different things, the wars he's been through, and his fears for Kenya and what might end up happening to Kenya if we keep this up. And then this morning when I woke up, I was looking at X, and I started seeing different people coming up and saying, we should not let Kenya sink. But what I want to tell you is this. Yes, there's no African country that has had a president resign and have peace after that. But you are Kenya. There's many countries in the world that had presidents resign. In 1990, Margaret Thatcher resigned. The UK still stood firm. In 1974, Nixon in the US, he resigned. The world went forward. The US went forward. It did not sink. So do not compare yourself with the countries in Africa. You are Kenya, and you can be the first one. Another thing is everything kept constant. Right now, let's say we don't die from disease. We don't die from any of that. Everything kept constant. Every one of us has approximately, let's say, lives to be 100. Some of us have 40, 50 years to live. The younger generations, Gen Z, you have 60, 70 more years to live. This is your world. This is the Kenya you will live in if you don't do anything. Do everything according to the constitution, but make the Kenya you want for yourself. Do not give up. Do not be afraid. Do not give up. I have, like the earlier speaker, one of the speakers said they grew up really poor. I'm one of those that grew up that poor. I do not know how I made it here. Somehow, sometimes I'm shocked. I'm a student doctor right now in the US. And every time I come home, my heart just breaks with the healthcare situation, breaks for one reason or the other. I try my best, but even my best is not enough. But having met so many people, it made me look at Kenyans, and it's making me look at Kenyans right now. And what I found out is this: you are an extremely bright people. You are extremely passionate and you love your country. And I know people keep comparing Kenya with the US and that there's so many people that there's so many good things in the US. I will tell you it's a no. I've been in the US healthcare system, working as a student and as a nursing student, then as a student doctor now, and soon to be a doctor. And if the US is not that 100% place that people think it is, it has so many issues. And Kenya has something that the US doesn't have. It has young people that are extremely bright, that I look at them and I see such a different Kenya. The Kenya I see in my head, goodness, I would never live anywhere if there was that Kenya. And I would like to come home and I would like to walk into a patient's room and say, hello, it's me, I'm Dr. So and so, and I'm here to serve you. I would like to serve my people. So let's not give up. The lady that mentioned that she's out there doing stuff, let's try and break into groups. And if there is something you're good at, give service to that. The people that are outside the country, let's say, for instance, me, I'm not there personally, but there's people that are there personally that can contribute in person, volunteer in person. I would like to see where I can contribute. If I have a little bit of money that goes to, let's say, buying the books of constitution that educates people in the villages, someone else
Thank you.
volunteers,
Thank
but
you,
I can
Molly.
buy the book.
Thank you, Molly.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you for the opportunity, though.
Dudley,
Okay.
if we can pick it up for the next speakers, kindly, if you don't mind.
Ombachi, you can speak.
Ombachi, are you there?
Ombachi? Are you online?
Yeah. It's just that I'm busy on transit, but can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Kindly
Yes, we
proceed.
can hear you.
Yeah, so I won't say much. I think I'll speak for like 3 minutes because I'm heading somewhere. Mine, I'll just roll it back to the first point. For me, it's all about the value of life. Ever since Rex Masai, the first person died, and I don't think people are actually angry enough because me, if maandamano ikiitwa from Monday to Friday, I'll always show up because of the try just to bring back the value of life. Because all these leaders, the politicians, over the years, we've normalized these killings, abductions, and then we'll meet, we'll have dialogue, and then everything will move on as if nothing happened, which is not true. So for that to stop, that's why I'm saying that as in Tuesday, anyone may anaweza, let's turn out in large numbers, if not only for the guys who were killed, the ones that we actually know, the ones we saw being shot outside parliament, and the bodies being retrieved today that we still don't know the story yet. So there's something sinister, and it's all about, we have to put these people to account, these leaders. They have to know that the days, that those eras, the Moi eras, the days of people disappearing and then life continues like nothing happened, has to stop. We have to live like a civilized society. We can't be proud of ourselves. I don't know, we have a 4 trillion economy, such and such, we are the best in Africa. But when it comes to a simple principle like just valuing life, it's really not picking up. So for me, we have to put everyone to account, even the guys who've already resigned, the likes of Kindiki, Koome. These people have to be arrested, they have to be prosecuted. The families of the dead, they have to get closure. And I believe how we handle these is going to determine how future leaders or whoever will be in power in future is going to treat life. Because if we let this slide and things, even if things change, you know, even if Ruto goes and no one is put to account, whoever comes, whoever good, however good he is, you know, even good people sometimes do change and become bad people. But if systems are put in place, if examples are set early, even the person that's going to come in future will have, you know, something in history to see, okay, I don't want to end up like that person. If this happens, if I kill people, if I abduct people haphazardly, I'm going to end up like Kindiki, Ruto, Coleman. So we have to use these people as an example. On Tuesday, watu watoke maandamano, it's going to be peaceful, it's going to be big, and yeah, ujamaa atoke, as in these people don't value life. For me, I think my back broke when that kid was, I don't know, shot how many times, and then in that interview, the president is there just lying, that asking, did the kid die? I think some things are just, you can just see that, okay, this guy doesn't value life at all, and that we have to bring back. We have to humble this guy. This guy is used to getting away with a lot of things. You know, he thinks this country, he can't see him too. The country belongs to the people. Power belongs to the people. Sovereign power belongs to the people. Hata akitoka, there'll still be power, and the power is us, the people, that will still have it. So on Tuesday, if you feel like, okay, you've achieved every other thing you wanted, or don't know, finance bill imetolewa, the CSS have been dismissed, we still have a very long way as a country to try and bring back the value of life. One life lost was more than enough, and now each and every other day we keep losing more and more people. So if you have nothing to turn up on the street on Tuesday, it's for the respect for the value of life. Because yesterday it was them, tomorrow it might be you, and tomorrow it might be someone close to you. And if you don't speak up for those who've been murdered by the state, no one will be there to speak up for you. So let's set an example. Let's bring to book the killers, the Kindikis, the Comes, all the police officers, those rogue mask or officers that were abducting and killing people haphazardly. As in, for me, mimi saizi penye nimefika, as in, I'm done with the whatever I was doing above. For me now, it's the value of life. All those responsible, they have to be brought to book. Whether they've already been fired, they're private citizens, they are still in government, they have to face the full wrath of law. As in, justice is our shield and defender, and that has to be put to practice. So just to set precedent, so that in future, our generation, our kids, the kids of our kids, the leaders they have, they know they no longer can get away with such sinister things. Yeah, so yeah, I'm in the middle of jumping through airports. That's all I have to say. We need to bring back the respect for value of life. And on Tuesday, to talk.
Thank you. Thank you for that contribution. I don't know, Mark. Mark, are you there? You have the microphone. If Mark is not there, Calvin.
Oh, thank you.
Kindly proceed.
For this opportunity.
Kindly take 2 minutes so that we can allow as many people to be able to make their contributions.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have a few issues I want to which have been shared by most of us. One, we need to revisit how many devolved units we have, because they are gobbling a lot of our funds. I would propose the original 8 provinces, if possible. Then we also need to revisit the remuneration of most of these public officers, especially the MPs and other such officers like the senators and governors and so on. I propose 300 or something, so that we ensure they are not as attractive as they are now. Then we need to abolish things like the CDF, so that we can redirect them to maybe to education, so that it can be affordable or free to the tertiary levels. The other thing is we need to look at the basics that the government offers us. For example, the ID, the passports and all that, they are actually getting out of hand. Most Kenyans cannot afford them. And I just looked at an ID for one of the recent citizens who acquired a new one, and I see there's an expiry date on an ID of all the documents. So these are things which I think your body, the LSK, can push in case there is a place where they can have a discussion with the authorities so that they can relook at them. ID should be free or at least affordable, but it should not have an expiry date. This is the first time I'm seeing something of that kind. The other thing is I'm scared to see police officers in plain clothes and hooded. These are some of the guys that are getting it the opportunity to kidnap and maybe dump people out of sight. The other thing is the rescue operations at the quarry are not going as it should be. At least we should have a way of ensuring that we recover the bodies as soon as possible,
Kindly
so
wind up.
that we are
You've
able
had the
to.
bell.
Yeah. Thank you. I think on that issue of the quarry, maybe the LSK should liaise with the authorities so that we are able to at least get the bodies when they are still recognizable. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. I think we had
Yeah.
spoken on the question of what the Law Society is doing about those debts and stuff like that. I don't think it's proper we reiterate on
Dudley
those
Omanwa.
on that position.
Okay.
Madam President, can you hear me?
Dudley Manwa.
Yes.
You'll be taking over. We see how many more we can continue having this space for how long, and you guide the rest.
Okay.
Okay, Madam President. I think
Dudley, kindly
we can
proceed.
have Abdilatif next, but we wish to make a suggestion to the movement. There are changes that we can push for and get without touching the Constitution. The moment you open up the Constitution for change, then anything can come up to it. And a referendum is the most political of events. Both amendment routes, parliamentary initiative, popular initiative, must get some approval from the county assemblies, from parliament. Are we confident within the movement opening up the constitution to the political class for changing? Or would we rather work with the constitution as it is, but push for its implementation, full implementation, reduce CDF, eliminate the unconstitutional offices, work with the constitution as it is, and restore the dignity, the power of the independent commissions? Stress on the separation of powers between parliament and the executive, so parliament can oversight and perform its roles properly. My suggestion would be to make requests within the constitution. Accountability of people like Bungei. Those are things which do not need referendum. But once we step outside the constitution and we begin engaging in referendum talk.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just checking if there's anyone who was speaking because I can't hear anyone. And I'll be co-hosting here as we move forward. So let me know by raising your hands if you want to speak. Then definitely you will go next. So thank you, Madam President, and I'll be helping here to co-host. Meanwhile, if you are speaking, let me know. Otherwise, you can mute your mic and we continue the great conversation we're having over here.
Mr. Kach, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Dudley.
Okay, I was saying, just reacting to some of the suggestions coming up that we need
So
to.
who was speaking before? I got added as a co-host. Was that Dennis or who was speaking?
Dudley is on the mic. Kindly, if you can allow him to proceed. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm speaking about the issue of suggesting that we reduce counties, eliminate women reps, eliminate nominated senators. Some of those suggestions are good, but they have a danger to them. They require a referendum.
Now, a referendum is one of the most political events you can ever have. When Kibaki lost the referendum in 2005, he had to dissolve parliament, something that has only happened 19 years after today. So we'd rather make requests within the constitution, require the constitution to be implemented fully, than require it to be changed. Because the moment you move towards a referendum, then you center the political elites. They'll drive the process, they'll change parts you did not want to be changed, they'll do all manner of things to the document. So perhaps we could concentrate on changes that we can make working with the constitution as it is now. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Dudley. We PLO, can you make your remarks, Wakili, quickly, so that we can allow the other parties, if you have the microphone?
Thank you. Well, I'll just take 5 minutes maximum before I wrap up. The conversations have been eye-opening, and I think patriots who've joined here and have taken a thing or two with them. So the other day when the president purportedly made the remarks to have or to ban Harambees, for me it was out of place, because when you look at the public office ethics, Section 13 of the Public Offices Ethics, Act, technically it outlaws Harambees, but ours is a problem of compliance with the laws. So it didn't take it shouldn't have taken the president's declaration for us to ban Harambees when we have a law that stipulates, public officers should not in any way engage, in or use their offices or place of work as a venue for soliciting or even collecting Harambees, or even as a collector or promoter of a public collection, like what Sudi and the likes have been doing. So compliance of the law is something we should be keen on. And then the other issue is about, I don't know how many are aware here, but in less than 23 hours, from now, because you're technically on a Sunday, the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, popularly known as KEFIS, released a notice the other day on notice to importers and exporters of agricultural produce or products on the implementation of fees for what we call phytosanitary services. So essentially, what KEFIS is saying is that under the KEFIS Act, which came into operation on 1st of September 2016 after its enactment 4 years prior, is that this act now, KEFIS is saying they are mandated to now implement the Plant Protection Act CAP 324, pursuant to these provisions and pursuant to the legal notice number 48 of 2009, Part B, effective 15th July, there will be an increment of fees. And then do you know what's funny? That this particular legal notice on 2nd of March 2009, who was the Minister for Agriculture? Your current president. So be that as it may, then the importers and exporters of agricultural products now will face, some challenge when it comes to the ease of doing business because of the increment of these fees. And perhaps, LSK would advise how best, we can proceed with this. And then, my second last position is on the sensitization and awareness creation of civic education of the legislative process. Mzalendo Trust on Monday will be hosting a space from 7 to 9:30, and I'll be part and parcel of the panel because the public policy and legislative affairs, practice of law, that's my forte. And I was listening in to the lady who was talking about how best do you amplify civic education on matters, bills, policies, statutory instruments. Well, I'm here, and perhaps we can liaise with Mzalendo Trust. Mzalendo Trust has a tool called Dokeze. It basically is a bill tracker, that, keeps you on track on what what stage are we on this bill? So there are 6 particular bills that should be our key focus in as much as the finance bill
Wakili,
failed.
wind up kindly if you don't mind. Sorry for interjecting you.
One of these 3 bills is the conflict of interest bill, the anti-corruption and economic crimes bill, and the election amendment bill of 2024. So on Monday, I think that the space could be of utmost importance to you, all of you, to see how best we can amplify the civic education. So with that, I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Council PLO. Dennis, are you there? You have the microphone.
I think
Dennis, you can hear me?
then should be Rufus and then Abdi.
Oh, Rufus. Thank you, Dudley. I don't know. Rufus seems to be not responding. Abdi?
Hi. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Let's have Rufus. Is that Rufus speaking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kindly proceed. Kindly.
Hi, everyone. So first, I would like to thank Faith Adhiambo for standing on business, for raising the bar, and making sure that every Kenyan is confident with the current legal administration, and people can actually practice their own democratic rights. So besides that, I still have a question, and this is a concern I've just developed over the last couple of spaces that I've dropped. So we have seen someone get the microphone despite them joining on June 2024. And there's no way of verifying this person and then giving them a platform to address over 10,000 Kenyans without a proper introduction. Doesn't go well with the current policy that we are trying to push for accountability, where we can tell this is the person who is doing this and hold them back to what they are saying. So that didn't go well with me. So besides that, my most important contribution to the space is a question about the final boss. So the final boss in this fight for good governance, I don't think it is our current president, William Ruto. If you're all aware, you know what happened on the date when the finance bill was passed. If you look at the visitors who are there in parliament, including US legislators, things didn't seem likely, like every person was representing their representatives in the country. There was a lot of foreign presence in parliament. So my question to Faith Adhiambo, and this is in a very positive way, is there a way of addressing the people who administrated the passing of the finance bill in parliament, and also the IMF that allegedly drafted the finance bill, so that we can see a way forward? And the real big question is, having seen the debts that we have accumulated over time, I understand this is not just a William Ruto problem. It's a problem that has developed over time from the previous administration plus the current administration, where even David D has acknowledged that our debts are currently unsustainable. Why are they pushing for more finance bills that are set to make sure that Kenyans are getting even more punitively taxed to a level that they cannot adjust further, having seen the projections for the previous bill, Finance Bill 2023, that was looking to make a lot of expansions to the tax policy, but it did not reflect in terms of tax revenue, which means that we had hit the Laffer curve. And now we are just expanding these tax base, tax rates, without considering that we can do fiscal consolidation by cutting on our expenditure. So why is it that the IMF and World Bank are more inclined to raise revenues, whereas we had the option to cut
on our side from the wasteful spending that was happening in the country. So I hope the LSK president answers this. And if there's a legal way we can address this, I would really appreciate feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rufus. Abdi. And even as Abdi takes up the microphone, I think as the Law Society, and I think Madam President will be able to respond to some of the questions that you have raised right now. We are not able to ascertain the identity of the individuals participating, but they are human beings. This is a public discourse, and that's why we are having public discourse. We don't care who listens. I believe government has its agents on this forum to inform them as to what the members of the public are saying. And that's why we are allowing each and every other person to speak and, put their perspectives publicly as to what they think about this government. And therefore, it's important to appreciate the fact that as a law society, we cannot be able to ascertain the identity of every individual who makes contribution on this space. Kindly, if you can allow me, Abdi, are you there? If you can take up the microphone.
Yes, I'll just be quick. Thank you for this space. I'm joining from Toronto. And sorry, I'm on the highway now. I just have one question that we have been asking. Now that there is the deployment of the military and to restore law and order, my question would be, is this a precursor that is preparing us for a state of emergency? And what is it like? Is it Article 58 or something? So this is what I wanted to know, because I think deploying the military and then maybe are we being prepared for state of emergency? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I think, Dudley, I hope you've taken up what Abdi has said. You can be able to respond. Let's pick up Dan Ojoa. Dan, are you there?
Hello?
Kindly take up a minute or two.
Are you getting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, mine first of all is to call upon everyone to turn out. We don't have to wait until Tuesday for us to turn out and say no and enough is enough, because what we are seeing is happening right now. Basically, if we are truly a country that is actually caring about what we are, we have to come out. And another thing, I'm calling upon people, we need to comb Ngong Forest, because we've seen what is happening with the quarries. We've seen everything, and we don't have to repeat that. So the basic thing over here is I have to call upon everyone, come out. Let's hold Ruto accountable, because he's the one leading the government. We have to hold him accountable. We have to ask him exactly why he's doing all these things that are happening. And another thing that I would like to call upon everyone is we push for a new election, because we have to have new leaders in place. What we have right now are leaders who are compromised. What we have right now are leaders who are not responsible for what they're supposed to be responsible for. So basically, I call upon us all to come out and say enough is enough. We come out and show the world that we are actually tired of what is happening in Kenya. Everyone is seeing it out there, and everyone is actually tired of it, however much some of them are not talking out. So, and then the last part of it, like I've also said, the issue of the elections, because we are saying we have a parliament that has been bought, a parliament that cannot stand for the people that elected them. We have a presidency that is not standing for the people that elected it, and enough is enough. That's all I can call for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Collins. Mehdi, perhaps then we can go back to Dudley.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the chance. So yeah, it's time we say enough is enough. Ruto must go together with his rogue regime. And it's so sad to see what's happening in our country. People, the hashtag is Ruto must go. And I don't know where this idea of people saying that if the president resigns, that military will take over. I don't think that's in our constitution, because there's also the deputy president. So I think we should push even for Ruto and Rigathi to resign. That would be easier, because I don't think there's a void in our constitution that allows the military to take over power, because we also have the speaker. And so, guys, it's time we say enough is enough. And on Tuesday, we come out in large numbers. Let's defend our country. Let's defend this nation that our forefathers died for. Thank you, and we are together in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi. Collins, 1 minute, then we take the microphone back.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak, and also my condolences to all the people we've lost. First, I'd like to remind all of us that the battle is long and hard, and we should not speak as if we've won. We've just won a few battles and the war is still ongoing. Now, secondly, just like one of us also said, let's not speak as if we do not have a constitution that has been partially implemented. In all the 10 or so years that we've had it, it has never been fully implemented, so we should not think about changing it. Finally, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a communications expert. I was in 2 of the most recent maandamanos, and what I noticed is for those of us who are on ground, there's a bit of lack of communication. So let's enhance, for example, songs. So if we have people among us who can sing and drive the people on the ground to peacefully express their displeasure against the government, that would be one good approach. I voted for this president. I love this president, but he no longer represents me. So what I would ask for all of us is we speak in one voice. Let's not talk as if we've won or there's something that has changed. When he was campaigning, to me, he was my best option. But at this point, he does not represent me. And it is good that all of us stand up, all of us, if there's some of us who can sing songs or make new songs for the revolution, that is what we should do. Peacefully take back our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dudley?
Thank you, Collins.
Dudley, kindly pick.
We'll come to Logic Flow, followed by SLC. 2 minutes each. Logic Flow, you have the mic.
As we wait for Deadly, if you've just spoken and you wish to give somebody your space, just pull yourself off from the speaker panel, and then we can add the next speakers. Deadly, yeah.
Okay, could we have Logic Flow take the floor, followed by SLC? Logic Flow. Okay, I don't know what the issue is. Ombogo, you can have the mic.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to address the issue. Kuna msee amesema he was talking about if the president goes, I don't know, the deputy president takes over the military. In our constitution, if the president goes, it's the deputy president who takes over. And if all of them go, it's the Speaker of the National Assembly who takes over for 60 days. And as we push for Ruto must go, it's the entire team. That is Ruto and his deputy, the Prime Minister and every other person. Then the Speaker can take over as they prepare for election and everything. On IEBC, which is supposed maybe to run the elections, I don't know, I read somewhere where they said maybe we are members of AU or something. They can supervise the same if the team is not in place. So there's nothing like anarchy or a vacuum. That's just wana push your agenda to make the millennials ama wazee wetu waone ni kama maybe tunataka kupindua serikali, kitu kama hiyo, ni wasupport hii struggle. So it's just the misinformation ama hiyo propaganda wana push to make us maybe look bad people. But there's nothing like anarchy ama tunataka kupindua serikali. We just want the best for the country and we want our leaders to be very responsible and everything. Alafu kuna rumors maybe sijui wanataka kurudisha watu wa akina Junet, akina Governor Joho to take over the cabinet ministries and everything. We say that we want new people, new faces and competent people. So maybe kama kuna watu wa serikali hapa wanasikia, mwende mwambie president in case of anything, kama anatuletea watu ni watu wageni, new faces. We are not going to recycle rejects to lead us again. Thank you. I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much. We can have advice and Bonai.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I would really like to ask two questions zenye zinahusu hii maandamano because mimi as a Gen Z or as a millennial or the group we are working very hard to represent the movement kwa ground, but mimi personally sioni kama the legal camp ya hii country ama lawyers na whoever wenye wanashughulika na mambo ya sheria wakipeleka hii maandamano kwa corridors za justice. Kwa nini nauliza hivyo? Ni kwa sababu ukiangalia article 1 ya constitution venye mimi naielewa, mpaka saa hii haijatuambia the procedures that are supposed to be used ndio wananchi wachukue powers from the government or from the parliament. But to my understanding, ile kutolewa mesa ama ile kuingia parliament ilikuwa ina show a vote of no confidence. I would want to believe that. So why are we not having the legitimacy of the parliament being questioned? And again, if the legitimacy of the parliament is questioned, what outcomes ama in case koti rule that the parliament sio legitimate, ni nini tunaweza expect? Ama koti ikishikilia parliament ni legitimate, ni njia gani ingine tunaweza taka kufuata? Hiyo ni swali moja ningependa kujibiwa. Ya pili, from a podium of ignorance, I want to believe that IMF ama bank zingine zote zenye zina lend Kenya pesa ziko na ile swali ya kuuliza, yes, Kenya inataka deni, ina qualify kupata hiyo deni, na ni sheria gani za hiyo nchi zinaongoza hii nchi ama zinaiallow kujia deni kwetu? Niko sure before wapeane deni zenye sisi tuko nazo, kuna maswali kama hizo waliuliza na wakakuwa presented with a case enye waliangalia wakasema Kenya ina qualify to take up those loans. Now because koti ilisema that ile kesi ya Omtata iwezi endelea kwa sababu they questioned mali alitoa evidence yake ama documents zenye alipresent, why are we not suing the IMF na hizo bank zingine zenye zilipeana Eurobond kuwauliza mulipeana hii loan kwa kuona Kenya imefikia hizo matakwa za constitution yenye inawalead kujia loan? Because at the end of the day, every business of the government is described by the constitution. Every move yenye serikali inafanya, I expect it to be backed up by law. Kwa nini hatupitii hizi njia mbili? Why are you guys nyi mwenye mko kwa corridors za justice ampiti hizi avenues? Hiyo ndio swali tu ningependa kujibiwa.
All right. So on those who's raised their hands, I think my co-host has dropped, but I want to know who was the next to speak. Was that Keegan or who was the next in line?
I think it was me.
Okay.
No, I
Let's
also think
proceed.
it was me.
Okay. Why
But
don't we start with
because my submission will
Keegan?
be quite short.
Okay, Keegan. Why don't you let was that Born to go first, and then you go next?
Much obliged.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, President Faith and the co-host for giving us this chance. So mine, it is just a question regarding to the constitutionality of the current parliament, because the last parliament, I remember my Chief Justice Maraga said that ruled that it had not attained the two-third gender and it was illegal. And I don't think even the current parliament is up to that. Then the second and last question is that why is it that we don't want to set the standard like the other developed nation, whereby the president, when the president was being sworn in, he was sworn in and he is supposed to safeguard people's property, people's life, his country, people's lives, properties, and all that. So picketing, it is a constitution. We are allowed to picket. He's supposed to bring the army. He's supposed to bring the army to safeguard people's property, so that those who are picketing, not to loot the properties that belongs to the citizen, and also to safeguard that lives are not lost. Why don't he align those armies? We need to picket and go directly to State House. It is very clear we need to go to State House. We just need to align the armies along the road and allow this generation, because we've said enough is enough. We no longer trust the president because of what is happening. Since we started with Shakahola, we've lost a lot of lives on the way. We are no longer having confidence with the current regime and the president. It's all that. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission, Bon Eye. And we'll be going to Keegan. But let me just read out the next logical flow so that everyone knows their position in the speakers panel. So we'll start with Keegan, then we'll have Empty, Mariga, Toiti, then we'll have Kenyan Global Network, that will be the third. We'll have Logic Flow, that will be the fourth. And we'll have Umbogo, that will be the fifth. So just make sure you remember your position so that we can have a very good fluid flow in this. And thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you for having me on the floor of the space. Basically, what we are having is a call, and a desperate call for a constitutional moment. And we know for a fact that the constitution that we have now was supposed to be revised much longer ago. And we know that if we do not have the type of leadership that we have, say, at LSK, then everything goes astray. But I will say this. We are not in a position to say, sack everyone and bring them back, because the citizens have decided. And the citizens are the people who put these others in power. Now, since we always said that the shoe will be on the left, but at one point it will be on the right, I want to urge everyone who still thinks that we should not forge ahead and agree on
a united government to think twice. Let me tell you something. We have never heard of LSK president that champions the rights like the one that is there currently. And also, it must also be known without fear that she was also part of dialogue. Her appointment was because people met and said, listen, what is the best approach? Who is the best person? And she rightfully emerged. Now, it would also be unfair for us to go against a process that is taking its shape, in as far as it really convenes, what would you call it? It looks to me, it looks like a government of national unity formation, which is fine. And I think it holds a lot of weight because with it then comes so many individuals that hold so many votes. But where is it for the youth? And remember, it is the youth that we respect today. It does not matter how we coin it. Everything you see is because the youth made it happen. So, because the youth made it happen, and LSK Prezo, now that you are Prezo, you are at least associated with one of the three arms of government. Why don't we have a fourth one? Not the fourth estate, because we are the fourth estate as the youth. So don't give us the fourth estate. We want a fourth arm or a representation at the executive of government. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Keegan. And if you may please just drop off from the speaker so that we add the next. Before the next speaker goes up, I want to let those who have requested to speak. This will be the order of the next 5 people who've requested. Abdi, Rosemary, Lita Free Kenya, Luya President, and Eric MB. So just know I'll keep adding you in that order. So don't despair. I'm very fair, and I'm just putting out the names of those who are next. I'd already mentioned the next speaker, so just take over the next speaker. Thank you.
Sure thing. Hey, everyone. This is Marika speaking. I'll be really quick, but I think there's something it might bring to mind. So every election period, it seems, not just this election, but previous elections from this, the conversation around overrepresentation comes alive, right? And in many ways, it's held together by false comparisons to global North countries, and in many ways ignoring the historical, many times social context of how those democracies actually work, right? A very basic example is comparisons to countries like the US, states like Texas, and people pointing out, Kenya would be half the size of Texas, give or take, right? But in many of these situations, you ignore, first of all, you ignore the other layers of elected government there are in the US. People forget that outside of what you look at as the Senate and everything else, there is the city mayors, which add a different layer, the school districts, which add a different layer, the sheriffs and the judges, which add a completely unique layer of government, which isn't unique to Kenya, right? And so one of the things I think I'd request, and someone else would have the capacity to do this, is we may perhaps need a different space and have a refresh on the Kenyan constitution, not necessarily its content, but I do believe it's absolutely necessary to have a conversation on the history of the Kenyan constitution, right? If you go back to how it was formed and why it was formed, right? And for example, how the counties were agreed upon, how the distribution of those, many of those went back to trying to redress historical injustices. This is why some of these counties were split. This is why some of these constituencies were split. They were a bit too big. There were a lot of sparring and different communal interests, and there's a lot of violence attached to especially the way boundaries were created. And so I do believe it's very important to look back at a lot of Kenya's historical reports, the Waki report, the land report and everything, to understand how and why a lot of these things were negotiated. Not that I'm not saying that we shouldn't revise our constitution. I believe it's very important to read the history of why all these were created, because a lot of these historical injustices have never been corrected. And in many ways, changing the constitution without addressing these injustices just furthers and sometimes increases the injustices and the inequality going around, from communal to tribal to gender, and all these things put together. So I do believe there's a lot of historical knowledge we need to expound on before trying to change the constitution to understand the why. That's my contribution for today. And thank you so much for the space.
Thank you so much, MT. Very valuable submissions. I also keep reminding you, remember your position, as I mentioned it earlier. I think, who will be the next? If you remember your position, who was after MT?
Me.
Just go ahead. Yeah, okay. Kenyan Gobo, go ahead.
Thank you very much, fellow Kenyans. First of all, I want to begin by saying that Ruto and Gachagua must go, and then express my condolences to the families, the loved ones who have succumbed to the atrocities of this regime. So I do not know how long am I given to speak. Can I have an idea, please?
I suggest let's keep it to 2 minutes, and so that we can have more people also express their views. You can always come back later, but let's keep it to 2 minutes.
Okay, I hope I'll be able to manage 2 minutes. I would have wanted a bit more, but yeah, I'll try my best. For me, I think that the current political discourse that centers right now on the Ruto must go, it should actually continue. We need to ensure that we apply a lot of pressure until Ruto exhausts power. Not in 2027. It should actually happen now. And the reason why I would have wanted to even have more time a bit, but I'll try to squeeze it, is because I wanted to draw your attention to the recent speeches by Raila Odinga and James Orengo in Kakamega, which are likely, I think, to set the agenda for the next phase of the debate. And the debate right now that people are having is this issue of dialogue. However, the pressing issue that I think we need to look at right now is that whose dialogue and to what end? And I think that the coming weeks and months, the focus will likely shift between the people's dialogue proposed by Orengo and Raila and the Ruto's dialogue efforts. And given the context of the people's dialogue, I think that given the context that we have right now, I tend to think that the people's dialogue will actually prevail for various reasons. So, as the Law Society of Kenya that is hosting us, I think it is crucial that you contemplate the nature, structure, and desired outcomes of this people's dialogue, including setting realistic timelines, because I think that it is coming. And so, going to historical review, it is essential to understand that the precedence of dialogue in Kenya, across Africa and globally, it has actually worked. But how has it worked and how has it failed? If you look at some of the things that are happening right now in Kenya, you realize that we have achieved a lot through dialogue, but a lot of the time, these dialogues have been hijacked by some people. There are many people who fought during independence, and some of the things that we fought during independence have not been achieved right now, up to now. What we ended up having is, failed dreams. That people actually, people who fought for Mau Mau ended up not benefiting. Kenyatta came and actually was planted by the British and ended up taking power. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just continue. We can hear you.
Yeah. Ended up taking power, from the people who are the real people who are fighting for democratization or for the independence. We saw people coming and hijacking the people's process. And I think for me to then save time, I want to encourage the Law Society on a number of issues. I think maybe there are three, mostly. One, the Law Society Is it possible for us to take advantage of this issue of dialogue to reset Kenya so that we first of all know what are the international agreements that Kenya has with Western countries? Why are we paying debts that we do not know where they came from? Why are we perpetually in debt as Kenyans? That is one. Two, I want the Law Society to help us establish why is it that in Kenya we have a situation where leadership rotates between two tribes? What is it that we can do to reset that? Because I think that other than what maybe other people may think, I think that this situation, if it continues, because it has economic implications, I feel like if it continues, we are putting these two tribes at a risk because a time is going to come in Kenya where the communities, in fact, we have seen what the Gen Zs have done, the radical nature of their protest and the results that they have. Another generation is going to come that are going to say that, look, we are going to apply affirmative action. There's no Kikuyu or Kalenjin who is going to actually be allowed to be in any senior position in government. How do we avoid that? How do we use this momentum to actually ensure that we avoid that? Thirdly and lastly, and this is to Faith, and I think somebody had raised this question before. We are told about the debts that Kenyans have, and we know that there's a law that was changed illegally, the one that is allowing um, that is allowing the consolidated account, that is supposed to be one account. Now we are hearing that now they have a chance now to have various accounts. We are told that that thing was done illegally, and that is what is allowing these people now to borrow money, put it in another account that we cannot account for, and then by the time this money is supposed to be paid is when it is brought to the control of the budget. So the control of the budget doesn't know what they are paying for. This law was passed in parliament illegally. What is it that the Law Society can help us do to change this kind of situation? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Kenyan Global. That was really a great submission. I'm going to announce, if you don't mind, I'm going to announce, I don't know who was the next, but I'm going to announce the next 10 speakers. So you need to remember your number, your position, so that you can easily move to the next. You just unmute your mic and move to speaking. If that's okay, can I go ahead and announce the next 10 speakers? Unless I'd already mentioned you, but I'm going to announce the next 10 speakers. So the most important thing, just remember your number, okay? So the first speaker is going to be Logic Flow. I think he'd come before. And then OK, Keith Onomics, you will be number 2. Then Rosemary Musumba, you'll be number 3. Luya President, you'll be number 4. Kosianga, you'll be number 5. Gabu Slim, you'll be number 6. Dijua, you'll be number 7. Western Silaho, you'll be number 8. Calvin, you'll be number 9. Just remember your number so that you can move on to speaking position immediately. Your previous speaker spoken. On those who are on the wait list, Morris Ndole, you'll be number 1. I'll add you right now. And then after that, there'll be Alilante's music. Then there'll be Kimaru Kering, Eric MB Jr., Ruch Senior, Frank Mengi, Warle Minor, George Kamau, Linus Kipsingay. So all of you are next on list to be added to the speaker panel. So I'm just making it very transparent so that everyone knows where they are, okay? Thank you. Yeah, the next speaker you can pick up. Unless that next speaker has dropped off. I think it was supposed to be Logic somebody, if I'm not wrong. Logic Flow? Logic Flow, can you hear us? Okay. Who was the next after Logic Flow?
I was number 3, Mr. Catch.
Who was after Logic Flow? Were you after Logic Flow or?
Yes.
Okay, then pick up. I think Logic Flow probably is having connection issues. Just pick it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much again for the host. I will not take long because I spoke earlier, so I don't really want to repeat myself. I want to actually yield. If you're giving me 2 minutes, I want to yield my other minute to Kenyan Global. Because he had very good points and I know him personally. So nataka kusikia point zake. Mine is just a shout out to some of the great speakers who've been here, and I've been trying to get hold of them, but it's kind of difficult. One of them being the lady who spoke, I think she's from Let's Talk Law. I tried following her, but you have to verify her account. So inanipatia too many problems. She ought to actually get in touch with me because she talked about an issue which we can always work together. And this is also about networking Nanini. I think she has some challenges there. And, I could give some ideas in terms of helping here and there. Kitu cha pili, I also want to give a shout out to somebody, I don't know who it was, but all of you must have seen the Finance Bill 2024 translated in local languages. This was far-reaching. It had far-reaching impact, which was just wonderful. I even, a lady from my community was talking about it in Luya, and I really loved it, so that our grandmothers and those who don't understand English can also understand and it should have gone all over media. Civic education seems to, elude us so much, and I just hope, I know, LSK, you've been given a tall order, sijui mtafanyaje, you need to probably delegate some of these assignments. We are calling on you to do this, to do that, almost 1,000 things, but you start off with, I know, it's a big hill, it may sound insurmountable, but you're up to the task. So I want to yield my other minute to Global. Go ahead, Ndugu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your submission, Rosemary. Global. Actually, just the next number. I'd given all the numbers, so the next logical person should just take over. If it was Global, please go ahead.
Well, we can't keep on waiting for Global forever. Allow me to say that, or maybe Global is back. No problem.
Keegan, I think you had already spoken, and
No
I'd
problem. It was
given.
just an added submission. No problem.
No problem, but I'm just making sure that I know who was after Global. If you know you're
No,
after
no problem.
Global, just get
As
ready.
we wait, maybe again it might be a connection problem. But allow me to say this. Allow me to say this. We have never had a more competent and more vibrant and more loved person in the office of LSK as we have in Faith. Truly, she is the faith that we need. So please, let her go over and beyond to champion things that will progress what sparked everything that happened. What do I mean
Thank
by
you so
everything
much.
that happened?
Thank you so much, Keegan.
Thank you.
That was great submission. Let's give Global a chance, and then if you know your position, just make sure you raise your hands up so that you go next. But Keegan, I really appreciate, and that's a good submission. Global.
Yes, thank you again. I just, in the spirit of honesty and transparency, I think I'd spoken. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and that's a
Yes.
good.
Yeah, I'd spoken, and I would want to give other people a chance. I would want to then thank you very much, my sister Rosemary, our mom Rosemary, for giving me the opportunity. But I'd spoken, so I really would want to give other people a chance. I'll chime in later. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your integrity and love for this particular space. I would want to ask if you know your position, because what I'm trying to do, the tool is not very perfect, so I don't want to skip somebody. So I try to give everyone a position. So if you know you are next, just let me know. Was that Kisianga or Western? Or one of you? But if you're in the speaker panel, I think most of you have not spoken. So please go ahead and uh, let me know. So let's start with Kisianga right now. Okay. I think I can't hear Kisianga. I don't know who wants to go next. That will be Ali Lantes, who's raised his hand. But the reason why I'm asking you to raise your hand so that I know whether, because there could be time difference, somebody could fall asleep and so on and so forth. So raising your hand makes me know that you're ready to go. Ali Lantes, please go ahead. Anyone who can hear Ali Lantes, unless I'm just having issues on my side? All the speakers, if you can hear Ali Lantes, let me know.
Chair, I can't hear the speaker. Can I go?
Okay. Yeah, you'll go next, but let me announce the next speaker so that you know your position. Okay. I think that is Western. So Western, you'll go first, and this is the order. After Western, Morris Ndole Kosianga will be number 2. Sorry, Morris Ndole will be number 2. Kosianga will be number 3. Kimaru Kering will be number 4. Gabu Slim will be number 5. Dijua will be number 6. Kate Onomics will be number 7, and Western Shilaho will be number 8. Remember your position so that you just pick up from the next speaker. So pick it up. Thank you, Western. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much. And fellow compatriots, my sympathies to the people we've lost through this struggle. It did not have to come to this, but then that is what it is, and that is the problem that is keeping some of us awake at this particular hour. One, I wish to draw you to draw your attention to the fact that Kenya's constitutions, and this starts with the independent constitution as well as the current constitution promulgated in 2010, have been more honored in breach than observance. And that's worrisome. It's worrisome because in as much as we have got a constitution that we celebrate, we regard as being progressive, we do not have constitutionalism. We do not have political actors who believe in the rule of law. And that is the crux of the problem. Such that history is of importance here. For some of us who recall when that constitution was being promulgated in 2010, one of the chief guests was former Sudanese strongman Omar al-Bashir, at the time indicted by the ICC for crimes against humanity and genocide. He was a chief guest, state guest by the Republic of Kenya under Mwai Kibaki. That was a false start
from a symbolic perspective, and it has come to pass. It was a false start. That impunity would continue reigning supreme, and indeed it has continued reigning supreme. The other thing I wish to alert my fellow compatriots to is that there's this tendency to draw a one-on-one relationship between the current William Ruto administration and the Moi administration. And in between, forget a whole host of things. William Ruto is as much a Daniel Moi protege as he is Kibaki's. Because in the aftermath of the 2007-2008 post-election violence, if people remember again history, on 2 occasions in Eldoret and Nyeri, Mwai Kibaki hoisted William Ruto, at that time agriculture minister, on the presidential ceremonial Land Rover. That was symbolic. In politics, as they say, nothing happens by chance. It was symbolic. It was that this person is worthy of succeeding me. This person is worthy of governing this country. No president just invites anybody, to be close to a symbol of power like that. So honestly speaking, we have had an incestuous political elite. And even as some of you know, when it comes to inbreeding in the animal kingdom, the byproducts are usually dysfunctional. So this political elite in Kenya is incestuous, practices inbreeding, and that's why it's dysfunctional, incapable of taking this country forward. It has been mentioned, for instance, that President William Ruto is supposed to appoint the Attorney General to advise him that there's a gap. In as much as he has dismissed the entire cabinet, he should move with speed and appoint a new Attorney General. But I ask, for what purpose? He doesn't take advice. And in any case, the office of the Attorney General historically has been very much integral to the institutionalization of impunity in Kenya. Whether you go back to the Njonjo era, the Anglophile, openly bigoted Attorney General we had, who criminalized just imagining that a president could die. That legacy is still here with us. The likes of Wako, highly cerebral, but user-friendly to the regime of the day under Daniel Mwai Kibaki. Whether you're talking about Githu Muigai, the scholarly, who once he was appointed the Attorney General, he became user-friendly to the regime of the day. He appeared before the ICC, but not in the interest of the Kenyan people, but in the interest of the establishment. So of what relevance would anybody occupy that office? The immediate Attorney General was part of the coalition Kenya Kwanza, and he was appointed as a reward. So what do you expect William Ruto and Justin Muturi, the immediate Attorney General, to discuss? These were like buddies who are just rewarding each other. So it's imperative that we don't become ahistorical when we read the current political developments, painful as they are. They have got antecedents, and it's imperative that we understand that in order to proffer sustainable solutions. The other thing I caution my fellow compatriots is this propensity to look to external actors for solutions to our problems. I hear again and again the mention of the ICC. We have been to the ICC before. The Kenyan elite took the ICC to the cleaners. They did, made nonsense of the ICC, made nonsense of international criminal justice. The ICC has been involved in Africa's problems, in Uganda, in Sudan, in Congo, in Central African Republic. You go to those places, it has not been of any relevance. So what is the corollary? It is that solutions to our problems, economic, political, social, cultural, name it, will be homegrown, These institutions that are dysfunctional, we will have to rebuild them so that people who engage in economic sabotage, people who engage in political brutality, state violence, have to be brought to book and jailed in Kenya. That's when we can do that. That's when we can regard ourselves as a progressive society. But as long as we think that the ICC, I don't know, UN, Human Rights Watch will come to our aid No, we have to perish that. Institutions of global governance are dysfunctional. They are skewed.
I think your 2 minutes are almost coming to an end. Maybe you can just summarize.
Okay, let me just land. So I think I wish to register also, like those who spoke before me, my appreciation to LSK and other compatriots who are committed to this struggle. Please let us not lose sight of the agenda, of the aim, and as much as possible, we de-ethnicize this revolution. This revolution, for it to be sustainable, it must first and foremost proceed from the brain ideationally, so that the way things were done before, we cut ranks with that and just be committed to the ideals, the values, the norms that will sustain our country and our society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If you remember your position, just go next. Who was after Western? Okay, who was after the person who was after Western? I can't keep track of the positions I gave to everyone, so I'm just trying to help see if there's anyone who remembers their position. So position 2, 3, 4. You can.
I was number 4.
You are number 4.
I was number 4.
Number 3 is
Yes.
not there. You are number 4. Okay, proceed.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This movement has been so keen on accountability, and today it got me thinking. And I want tech bros to help me on putting this idea together. So I was thinking about accountability on government projects. We have scenarios where we were being told by the likes of Akina, the current Kirinyaga governor, that they bought a towel at I don't know how many thousand shillings, which the project did not even need a towel. And pens, nowadays people buy pens in offices worth hundreds of million shillings. You are wondering what these pens are going to do for us, the constituents. And so I was thinking of a system that can actually help solve all these issues. So I called it a national project accountability system. So this system, it starts accountability all the way from the project proposal. So you see, when we, for instance, when we are building, say, the SGR, okay. So when we are building the SGR, for instance, from Nairobi to Kisumu, so there is the overall project value that they always tell us, tumetenga zaidi ya bilioni and all that. You see, that's always a roadshow thing, but it actually doesn't have the actual value of the project. So you'd find that maybe if they tell us a project, they're going to spend, for instance, 50 billion on a project, you find that the real value of that project is always maybe 10 billion. The other 40 billion shillings is always unaccounted for. That's why they have to overprice things for it to be able to fit the value that they said. So now this perceived system starts from the project proposal. So this system should have the actual amounts of every item within the current market, and the prices within the system changes with the prices as like in update with real time. Okay, so now we look at the proposal. So tukiwa na proposal, si tunakwanga na the people that are going to win this tender. So the person who is going to win the tender, you're going to tell us everything that is going to be used in this project, because now you are looking for you to look for a tender to be able to do a specific project. You've already gone to the ground, you've already known what you want to do, you've already done a report or a research on the items that you want to use. So now your report should so the system will compare your proposal with the market value. That way, we will make sure that the project is not overrated. And of course, the system will also have extra amount of money just in case of market inflation and something of that sort. The second section is government approval. So once the government has approved this project, and of course, this system is going to be in the domain within the public domain and the public reach. So any citizen can be able to access, can be able to scrutinize, can be able to compare and contrast, and can be able to pinpoint on areas that they see some fishy issues. So now, after the government approval with the actual value based on the evaluation with the system. So here we are going to avoid this extra wastage that the politicians are always fighting for. So once the approval has been made public, that final approved amount will be the amount that the system will take. Now, from start to completion, the contractor is supposed to have a daily accountability of each and every item bought and each and every shilling used. And if there is any controversy or anything, kama kuna difference yote yenye iko unaccounted for, then this contractor or whoever is in charge of this project is supposed to give us a vivid accountability of the amount of money. And then now the system will also be updating the actual market price of every item. So if you said you bought maybe chuma ya doshi, whichever nini ulinunua chuma ya doshi, whatever size or whatever value you bought it from, ukasema ulinunua at 7,000 maybe per meter, then the system is saying the actual current value ya hiyo chuma yenye umesema umenunua is 3,000. The contractor is supposed to be held liable for this. This itakuwa ina avoid kungoja hadi project iishe ndo tuanze kuangalia this project ilikuwa ifanywe hivi na ikaenda hivi, pesa hii ilipotea. We will have a daily accountability of every project. Also, I think the system should also give us daily update on the completion of the project, so tunajua hii project imefika hapa na ishatumia pesa kama hii. Na kila mwananchi anaweza ona, and every nikisema an account of every shilling is una produce evidence yenye ulikuwa umetumia, ulikuwa umepurchase nayo hiyo item. Also, the last point is that the system is supposed to provide us with a timely update of the number of jobs created.
So, Gabu Slim, I don't have a timer, but I know it's well over 2 minutes. Could you summarize? Thank you.
Yes, I'm on the last point. So now the last point is that the system is supposed to give us a timely update on the number of jobs created. So the system will tell us the number of jobs created, the actual number of jobs created, how many people were employed, who are these people that were employed, on what positions, and what are they earning. That way, we will never miss on accountability. Yeah, it was my thought. So any tech bro who is able to help me figure out these, kindly DM or contact me so that we can make this to a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabu Salim, and I appreciate your contribution on the accountability aspect. If you remember your position, if you were supposed to go next, let me know. Just unmute your mic and just go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Kimaru. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to give my condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones during all this period of this revolution. And I would like to try and address a few issues. Actually, according to my view, I think the elephant in the room is the MPs. The MPs actually have control of a lot of money under the NGCDF. Actually, the NGCDF was ruled unconstitutional. I think it was last year or the other year. I can't remember the year well. But just take an example of these 290 constituencies. An MP and each MP controls 200 million. So when you take this 200 million, take it by 290 constituencies, it comes to 58 billion. 58 billion is being squandered each and every year by these MPs. This is the money that they actually go dish out and bribe the clergy and bribe the electorate again to be re-elected. So actually, my point was, I think we need to demonetize our politics by actually giving pressure to the president to make sure that the NGCDF is ruled out, is scrapped off totally, because this money is the one that the MPs use to bribe people and bribe the clergy. So yeah, then another point was, I think we need to cut the counties. This has been talked on a lot, from 47 counties probably 10 to 15 marks. That will automatically cut the senators. Then on the issue of President William Ruto, I think there's a time Moi said that Kanu will rule for 100 years. I don't know if it's Moi or Kenyatta one, but this has to come to an end, because when you look at the politicians who have actually served in these big positions, right from William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, the previous government, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, the previous one, Kalonzo Musyoka and Kibaki, then the previous one again, Moi and his children. So the more things change, the more they remain the same. So I think we need to stamp our authority by making sure that William Ruto is the last one of these KANU cartels. Yeah, then when these CSS are the next CSS who are going to be appointed by the president take office, it's my strongest view that they take a pay cut immediately, because that's the only political goodwill that will appease to the masses. Yeah, I think those are my points.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And who was next after that? The next speaker? Just pick it up. I can't remember the exact positions. I give everyone their position. So just pick it up.
Hi, I can just speak. I know that I saw some people were ahead of
Was
me,
that number
but
5, number 6, if you know
it's
yourself?
okay. I've seen no one
Or
is.
should I give a new position for everyone?
Please do, because I also I'm
Go
expecting
ahead,
to speak, but I
Joa.
don't know
Okay, let Dijua talk and then I'll talk after him.
No, okay, you can speak, then I'll come after you. It's okay. Ladies first.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I know it's really late. I hope I have written down what I want to say just for clarity. So I hope if I do go a little bit overboard that you give me some grace with the time. I think what I have to say is really important. So first of all, thank you so much for this. I know a lot of us cannot sleep. I know personally for me, it's...
I do know Spaces has issues, but if everyone else can hear Koki, I can't hear her, but it's okay if the rest of the space can hear her. So somebody just confirm for me that you can hear Koki.
Yeah, I can hear her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll just be on mute then. Koki,
Okay,
proceed.
thank you so much. I was saying, I know a lot of us can't sleep. Personally, for me, I have been struggling to sleep for like a month and a half now, and it keeps getting worse because every day it's just a new tragedy. And I think for me, what's keeping
Move
me...
it charged, it will be off. Sorry.
So what's keeping me up the most is the future of our kids that I feel is really hanging in the balance right now. And I really hope that a lot of us can see that this situation requires all hands on deck. I personally was like on a social media break, but I came back because I believe we all need to dare greatly in this situation. Yeah. So my first point is to just thank Faith. I feel like you've really raised the bar in what it means to be a powerful woman in Africa. And I'll quote a lot Africa, Kenya, because I do a lot of global work. I have personally benefited from the Law Society of Kenya through the Advocates Benevolent Association. And actually, this whole situation has inspired me to get back to studying for my master's in financial law, because I think we need more people who can use what is stated in the law and translate it into actionable points that everyone is happy with. And then, which leads me to the second point. I work in finance, and specifically with ideating of like structures and policies and setting up like data-driven checks and balances in, I would say, audit and assurance mostly, but also with embedded finance, especially with relation to due diligence for startups. And my work involves a lot of corporate governance, financial checks, essentially. And I don't know whether Vincent has spoken. There's someone called Vincent. I don't know whether he's spoken, but I say that I'll repeat this here. There is a need for us to also think about the follow-through actions in a way that also makes our future generations proud of us. What do I mean by this? We also need to open our minds to trying new ways of holding accountability, like holding these guys accountable, because I don't think that they understand the gravity of the situation. I have been very categorical about the fact that I don't think I need to negotiate with terrorists. Like, these are our kids that are being killed. I personally have a cold case in the legal system for the last 20 years because my mother was killed and I've never gotten justice. And it all leads to police basically colluding and not wanting to produce evidence. So the crux of the problem is this police situation. And I was even saying the other day that we are our police system is very analog, and it starts translating into the culture of how police handle themselves, how they handle us, how they view their duty. Everything is connected, right? We need to also have a conversation about how are we digitizing essentially all the public financial management systems in the country, because people are going to school, they're going and doing CPA accounting, and they have these skills. They know how to do public financial management. They have the skills, but the environment is not enabling, because who's going to be competing with the $1 for food? Like, businesses are even shutting down. I'm struggling to even help businesses fundraise because the environment is not enabling essentially. It's going, the whole thing he keeps saying about bottom up, it doesn't make any sense to me, because I'm like, you are actually the person who is taking us away from this promise that you made. So in relation to all that, I would really want to have conversations with like-minded people about decentralized autonomous organizations, because the only risk I was seeing in presenting such an idea to more people is the fact that the strength of the system relies on how many participants are tuned into it. And we had another live the other day with Vincent. I rarely speak in lives, actually. I just listen a lot. But I think this is really important with where we are heading with this. We don't have an excuse basically to say that we cannot be able to account for this money, this and this and this. And it ties into the person who spoke ahead of me a few minutes ago. We need to be able to keep the movement accountable, transparent, still leaderless. And I feel like the only way to be able to do this is to lean into the new technology of blockchain and the new technology of smart contracts, and trying to use crypto in public financial management. I think that is where the catch will be. People are already tuned in, people are awake. So getting people to subscribe to this will not really be a problem. I think we need to have more conversations that will allow for the best ideas for our country to thrive, essentially. And then I had my last point, which is just kind of like to bring together a lot of the things that people are saying. As we are holding, and this is with regards to accountability. I was going to read for you guys some words from a book that I've been reading lately. It's called Think Again. I do read a lot of books, and I think I'll pin even on my page some threads that I write about how you can read certain books with regards to certain information that you're looking at. I think it will be very beneficial for us to also strengthen our minds, because that then translates into the collective. Like whatever we do on the individual will echo into infinity. And so the individual and the collective, yeah. So I wanted to just read for you guys just some bullet points of actions for impact. It's in this book by Adam Grant. He is I think he's a professor in one of the big universities or something. I know him from his podcast and his books. So in the book, he says he gives practical solutions on individual rethinking, because there's so much information that's coming out every single day, and I know it's a lot to keep up with.
Koki, just letting you know that's 2 minutes almost over.
Just one more minute, and I'm wrapping up. Thank you so much for the reminder.
Roger.
So there's a lot of ideas that there are a lot of things that are coming out at the moment, and it's hard to keep up with everything. But I want to encourage people to look at it from this perspective of some points into how to develop the habit of thinking again. So try to think like a scientist, at least for one. When you start forming an opinion, resist the temptation to preach, to prosecute, or to politicize. Just treat the emerging view as a hunch or a hypothesis and test it with the data that you have. That will help you maintain the agility to pivot. And then define your identity in terms of values and not opinions. Because if you stand for nothing, you're going to fall for everything. I think I can summarize it with that. And we can't say that we are holding all these leaders to this high standard if we're not also holding it within ourselves on the individual. Even those bribes you pay to cops, all those, I want to get ahead on the line. We need to cut that shit out, all of us, basically. And then seek out information that goes against your views. Engage with people who have an opinion different from you, because then you're also allowing yourself to be a teacher, but you're also allowing yourself to make an impact by showing them a better way and being able to even dispel your best ideas. Because if you can't dispel your best ideas, then you cannot defend them. I would say, yeah. And then in terms of the collective, because I wanted to give on the individual and on the collective, how to do collective rethinking as a society. We need to have more nuanced conversations, and those nuanced conversations need to allow for range, basically. There are more than two sides to every story, though I know when it comes to Ruto must go, it's Ruto must go. And then don't shy away from caveats and contingencies. I think that is the best thing about the law. Just
Oh,
yeah, acknowledge competing claims and conflicting results. Does not make you sacrifice interest or credibility. It's just an effective way to engage audiences while encouraging them to stay curious. Something I think our president really needs to pick up on. And then expanding your emotional range also includes teaching our kids to think
thank
again.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for the time
Awesome.
and for allowing me to speak. And yeah, have a good one.
Thank you so much, Koki. We really appreciate your submission. And thank you so much once again. Before we go to our next speaker, I just want to do a quick check on the positions that we had. Who was supposed to be next? Can just unmute and say your name, and then I'm gonna announce the next 10 positions after that. Who was supposed to be next after Koki on the speakers panel?
You said it was supposed to be de jure.
Okay, because what I've noticed that some of the speakers do fall off, so that's why I give position so that
So,
if you the person you're supposed to speak after doesn't speak, then you just take over. Dr. Stan, go ahead. What do I say?
okay. Uh, Thank you for having me in this
No, I
space.
was not saying you speak. I was just saying, like, I thought you were gonna say something to do with if you are the next speaker, because I was about to announce the next 10 speakers, so
Yeah,
that you know your position.
yeah. I'm honest.
What were you after Koki, or were you? Do you
Yeah,
know your?
yeah.
Okay, so if you're after Koki, could you pause for a second? I'm gonna give every speaker their position so
Mhm.
that they know, so that they easily follow through, if you
Okay,
don't mind, right? So
okay.
you'll be speaking next, but allow me to give the next 5, 6, 7, or 8
Sure,
speakers next, okay?
sure, sure.
So after Dr. Stan, we'll be having KDR TV News. Okay, so you'll be number 2. 2 means after Dr. Stan. Frank Mengi, you'll be number 3. Morris Ndole, you'll be number 4. Nyaluo Radio, you'll be number 5. And then Kosianga, you'll be number 6. So I hope those 6 positions are well. Just remember your position. If the person before you have technical issues, you will just pick up after that. So remember those 6 positions, okay? Thank you, everyone. And Dr. Stan, please pick it up. Thank you.
So, thank you for having me in this space. My issue is the person of medical intern.
Yeah, you said if somebody who is in front of me is not speaking, I can pick up. Is it okay for me to go ahead? Dr.
Hello?
Stan, are you there or what?
I think Dr. Stan is
I'm
speaking. I
here.
can hear Dr. Stan.
I'm here.
We can't hear him, okay? Let me speak. Okay.
No, Dr. Stan is there, so let him finish.
So, my issue is with the posting of medical doctor interns, which the government has not showed like the commitment deserved for that.
Dr. Stan, I don't know if your connectivity is having an issue. I can't hear you. If anyone else can hear Dr. Stan, let me know. If not, also let me know so that we can move to the next speaker.
I can't hear him.
All right. So KDR TV, you can proceed. I'll recycle Dr. Stan.
Thank you so much, my brother, for having this wonderful discussion
Will everyone love our country? I'm speaking from all the way in Chicago, and I take this opportunity to, first of all, condole with the families of the young people who have died, and we are continuing to unravel the mystery that most of the young people might be buried or might be thrown somewhere in rivers, and you see what's actually happening at Mukuru, whatever you call it. So we need to continue to be very vigilant. Thank you very much. I don't know if my sister is still awake right now, Sister Faith Adhiambo. The work you guys are doing is really commendable, and continue. And all the Kenyans who are still up, I mean, unfortunately, it's 6 p.m. here, but the people who are still up to this particular time, you guys, you are really patriots. My contribution here is based on the reality and what we really need to do as a country to move forward. As you know, we are fighting for justice, and every person who has actually gotten problems, especially from the government or from the justice system, needs to be looked at, and then things need to really move very fast so that everyone can be on the same page. We are not going really to listen to the political class because most of the people. You're not hearing me? Somebody was
There's
interrupting.
a lot of echo. I
No,
think
no, we
somebody's
can hear
talking.
you. We
There's a
can
lot
hear you.
of
Please
background
proceed.
noises.
Proceed. Background Proceed. We noise? can hear you. Thank you so much. So what I'm saying is that we are not really going to listen to the political class to cut the cloth for us or cut the bread for us. We'll definitely have to go move ahead and ensure that the politicians do exactly what we need, because our country is not for the politicians. We've seen exactly what they have, how they have messed us up. So it's our time to make sure things move in the right direction. One of the I run a TV called KDA TV News. You guys, you can follow me up either on Facebook, Twitter, and all that, so that at least we can be having some wonderful time. We do interview a couple of people. I mean, we have already interviewed, not a couple, we have interviewed so many people. Let me say VIPs and even the people down in the village. We have interviewed them. If you can go to my YouTube channel, you can see that, KDA TV News. You can see exactly what we are doing. My concern, my brothers and sisters, is that we had the commissioners. Right now, we are waiting. I mean, the people who are really making us not to move forward is the IEBC. But I've received 1,000 of suggestions and calls from various people across the world. Most of them are demanding the Cherera 4 to be brought back to the office, because they were hounded out of the office without proper investigation and proper, proper channels. So those people need actually to come back to the office and continue their work. If we need to add some more commissioners, because we need like 9, then we can go ahead. But the Cherera 4, the way they were hounded out of the office was completely not fair. And Kenyans should demand for them to come back, because if they made any mistake, we know exactly how mistakes are made, but we didn't see any mistake. What they basically did was that to say that the way the elections was conducted was not fair. Unfortunately, the regime which was coming in, the regime which is really giving us a lot of trouble right now, they basically voted them out or hounded them out of the office because of fictitious allegations. By the way, they stood with Kenyans. Unfortunately, the political class have also now thrown them under the bus. The beauty thing with Kenyans right now, we are demanding for justice. Those people need to come to the office. We need to add more, a couple more commissioners, and we are ready to go. We are ready to recall all the MPs, or we are ready basically just to hold a snap election. If with the IBC in the office, we don't actually need more. Any other thing right now. Even if we decide to tell the policemen to continue doing investigation, these are the perpetrators of the heinous crimes. So how do we expect them to even run the show or run the investigation while they are the accused? How can somebody steal your chicken and then tell him to investigate and see whether the thief is in the village? So that's exactly what we are doing. The scale at what the scale right now of the violence or the abductions, the murder, which is really engulfing our country right now, it doesn't need our police or DCI to conduct the investigation. You've even heard from reliable sources that the outgoing IG was having serious problems with the president's people. So we don't really need to listen to what the policemen are saying. So the Gen Z and the Kenyans at large should demand that we get an independent body to come and do the investigation in Kenya so that we get the reality. One of the speakers who spoke before me has said that for the last 20 years, she's been trying to get justice, but because the policemen always deny her the opportunity to get justice, she's still crying. I mean, I believe she must be a young. She was a young girl when the mother died. 20 years. That's a long time. Right now, she's almost becoming a nyanya, and the investigation has not really yielded anything. We had so many people who died in Kisumu. We saw how those people were being dragged out of out of their homes, not in the streets. They were being clobbered. Some of them lost their limbs. Some of them lost even their cognitive abilities, and the police are still left without any proper charges. We have what we call IPOA in Kenya, which is completely let me call it a ragtag investigation organization. So those things actually need to be fulfilled so that we can have a country. The other thing is, right now, we really need a radical surgery on the police. So the police we are having, they do not actually serve us. They are serving the political class. So they need actually to be sent home. All the police force needs to be sent home immediately so that we can have a country. Without Just that, my to brother, know we that have the 2 minutes
are over, but you can continue and summarize.
Thank you so much. I appreciate my brother. I might need to maybe to talk some other time. You guys follow me up. If there is if there's some information you want me to pass along, especially from the diaspora perspective, my brothers, I'm pretty ready to coordinate with you and to work with you so that we can have a better Kenya. I've been in the political class, or not the political class, but I've been in the political circles from all the way from 1988 when we had the first Mlolongo, whereby the people who had the longest line, they were the Luo Kole or Yuagoro, all the last ones, and the people who had the shorter lines were the ones who won the election. So there are so many things we really need to fix in Kenya, and it's the Kenyans themselves, not the political class, to go behind the boardrooms and decide for us. Please, let the Cherera 4 come back to the office. Let's ensure things move in the right direction, and everybody will be happy. But if we let the politicians, the Railas, the Rutos, the Watangulas, and all that, they'll continue messing us. And I don't actually expect to have the patching, whereby now we are hearing that the opposition people are coming to the government. That will be repeated over and over. We saw what happened in 2005, 2008, 2011, blah, blah, up to 2018 after Uhuru won the election. Patching. We still have problems. But if we take the initiative to ensure that we the people who have the power, make the changes work for us, I'm telling you, Kenya will be the best country for everyone, and I thank God for the opportunity you guys have given me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, KDR TV News, and we really appreciate all your submissions. The next person, if you remember your number, just unmute and proceed. If your position or the person you are after does not unmute, maybe let me know so that you can go next.
May I go next? Because I think I was before the previous speaker.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kach. First and foremost, my condolences to the families and friends of our departed fellow citizens. It's a macabre day, macabre events. We must never let this pass. And second, I'd like to thank the Law Society. I'd like to thank the Council Madam President and her colleagues on the tremendous efforts in seeking justice for all Kenyans. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk about police brutality, the National Police Service, and my submission is in questions. Does the police serve the executive, or does the police serve the state? And is the state the executive, or is the state the people of Kenya? And is the police service a colonial force? And when one gentleman purporting to be a military or police figure talked about they coming with stones and we have guns, is there any training or education in the police that talks about the proportionality of force? Because we can never equate a stone to guns. And on that note, I also want us to look at what happens when the politicians infiltrate a peaceful protest. Do we blindly turn around and blame the peaceful protesters? So those are questions. So now, this begs the other question or intervention. Do we need to re-educate the police? Do we need to play a role in making sure that the curriculum of the police is scrutinized? Because just like the laws that are being passed left, right, and center, we need to be vigilant as the people of Kenya. As Article 1 of the Constitution says, or states that the power and sovereignty belongs to the people. So we need to know this force that is being paid and sustained by our taxes. What exactly is it trained to do? Is it trained to protect a political figurehead? Is it trained to protect members or the members of a political party, the executive members, or is it meant to serve and protect the citizens and the properties of Kenya? So there is a great mishap, incompatibility between the police as a hardware and the constitution or the laws as a software. My second submission is on international law. I think it is trite law that Kenya should be subject to international law, especially on matters of human rights. And then I also want to talk about the grand norm, which is the Constitution. Why is the Constitution violated? Is the Constitution not a talking document, a living document, which is supposed to speak for itself? And then I also want to look at the binding nature of international laws. And I also want to look at or to question the signing of the Malabo Protocol Act, talking about the African Court of Justice and Human Rights and Article 48 of the Constitution, which burdens the state to ensure access to justice for all persons. So what was the implication of President Ruto signing the Malabo Protocol? Does it exempt him from the ICC? And then now my third submission basically is to look at representation. Again, Article 1, power and sovereignty belonging to the people and the people donating it to the representatives. So my question is, are these parliamentarians
Ni mimi peke yangu simsikia, ama kuna wengine hawamsikii?
I think we lost him.
me? Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes,
Can
you
you
are.
hear me?
Continue, please. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yes, yes, yes.
okay, so I was talking about representation, Article 1. Now, once the politicians or the members of parliament selected, do they go in to represent their party, or do they go in to represent the people who elect them in? And then when we look at the impact of storming the parliament, which is similar to storming of the Bastille in 1798 in the French Revolution, what was the role of this, this parliamentary storming event? What is its symbolism? Was it a vote of no confidence? And should there be seeking of fresh mandate by these MPs? Then my last and final submission is on the pure theory of law under Professor Hans Kelsen. Maybe the legal scholars, my fellow legal scholars around here
Did you
can
lose
assist
everybody?
me get to understand this. So can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So looking at Hans Kelsen's theory on abrupt political changes not contemplated by the existing constitution, the crisis that we are in, how do we address it? When we look at legal science being separate from legal politics, what is this situation that we are in? And, when we look at the grand norm, being changed by political revolution, the validity, the basic norm, and its efficiency or efficacy. That's my submission. Thank you. Thank you. I yield the mic.
Thank you. So am I going next, Mr. Kach? Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. First, I would like to say that my name is Uba, and I am very, very impressed by what young Kenyans, the so-called Gen Zs, are doing. I appreciate their work, and I think they have opened many, many eyes and many opportunities for our country. And this revolution most definitely will change our country forever. Before I give my submissions, I would like to thank you, Mr. Kach, because I think of the good work of managing the speaker panel today. I've been to many spaces where you listen for several hours and you don't get an opportunity. I hope you educate other space hosters on how you manage this to be able to give at least as many people as possible a chance. Secondly, on that note, we know that there are other space hosters who host spaces just to fight the revolution, just to detract attention to other things that might not help us in
Did I lose
revolution.
everybody or is
Do you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Personally, I can hear you. I don't know if Mr. Kach can hear you and the rest of the listeners, but I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you. Then I will just proceed. And so, first, I know these spaces have been a learning experience for many of us because we have professionals like lawyers and artists and many people who are helping with the revolution. My first submission would be to ask the LSK if there is anything can be done when Article 1 of the Constitution says the power belongs to the people and the people can take back their power, the dominated power from the people they donated it to, and use that power themselves. my question is, does Article 1 give the people the path to take that power back? Because they say when Parliament was stormed and the maize was taken, that symbolized that the power was taken back. But how do the people proceed on after taking the power? Because right now we're just struggling with protest and protest and protest, hoping that the people occupying spaces will listen to us and will do what we expect them to do, which we see Ruto is doing in piecemeals. He just dissolved his cabinet, he rejected the bill, and so it's like our hands are still tied, even though they're saying the power is now belonging to us. How does the Constitution give us a path to take that power and to be able to elect our new leaders without having to hope on somebody to come and elect IEBC, which had stalled for so many times? So that will just be the question. Can the constitution be straight when the people take back their power? How many days do we have to go back to fresh elections? Like as clear as, hey, if a president becomes incapacitated, we know it takes immediately the vice president becomes the president. If that is not the order, the speaker of the National Assembly becomes the president. That's clear like that. Do we have a clear path that tells the people that when you take back your power the way we did, then we have this number of days to go for fresh elections and donate the power back to the people we want? My second submission is on how do we make sure that the people who are murdered, the people who are killed, the people who are abducted, the people who have been maimed get back justice? The people we are finding on forests and on quarries every single day. Is LSK, I know the president, Faith Adhiambo, has been doing a phenomenal job, very good job, helping the people out. But do we have a way that we can be the people who have been rendered like murdered and maimed get their justice back? My third submission would be on the process. When we go out to protest, I concur with the previous speaker who said that sometimes there's a little bit of fatigue and lack of organization and lack of direction, and that is emanating from the fact that Gen Zs have no leaders, have no tribe, have no anything. But I would wish we have people who can direct the demos so that we don't scatter all over the place, so that we don't run out of songs, so that we don't run out of enthusiasm. So I'm appealing to any patriotic Kenyan who will be able to go out on Tuesday to help with, like, you don't have to be a leader, but you can be able to help with keeping the fire burning. Keep the fire burning. Like, let's have songs coming and flowing and flowing and flowing without stopping. People to support mandamanos, like bring waters and all that stuff. So that's my appeal to all patriots who will go out. If you have ability to bring speakers, bring loudspeakers. Let's sing. If people are tired, let's just let the speakers bellow out Ruto must go all through until everybody listens to us. Finally, I would request the Mr. Koch and all the other people who hold spaces that are actually supporting the revolution to come up with a way we can make sure that these ideas that people and Kenyans and our friends all over the world are contributing in spaces does not go to thin air. Is there a way we can have a collection? I know Twitter is organizing it. We have it, spaces you can go back and re-listen again. But is there a way we can have summaries? Like, for example, today's Citizen Assembly. What is the main theme of the speakers? What is everybody saying? Can we have like a summary after the space? We can have like this space basically most people contributed towards this. I know this one is for MSK, so most people will be asking legal questions. So is there a way that the space organizers can be able to come up with a summary for every single space they host? And lastly, I also would like to see if there is any patriots around who are looking into the blockchain idea to come together and see how we can use blockchain to keep people accountable in all aspects of running the business of our country, be it on appropriation, be it on looking on corruption, be it on looking on previous injustices. Blockchain can do a great idea, and we can be able to document each and every one of this in terms of even looking into the reports that are gathering dust all over the country. Like the NADCO report came out, and obviously it's going to gather dust like all the other reports, like Waki report and all of them that have been there all over the time that Kenya has been in existence. So the blockchain idea would really be helpful to help. And I'm just looking to if there are any patriots around who are willing to, put our heads together and be able to develop the blockchain technology to manage our country and politics and in all many ways. All is that I had to say, and I really want to thank you, Mr. Kach, and the host, Faith Adhiambo, for creating this space today. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kach, am I the next speaker?
I'm wondering, I think it dropped. Somebody's people are not listening. I don't know.
Hello, can you hear me, all of you? Hello, can you hear me, all of you?
I can hear you, but I don't know if Mr. Kach is listening. And I think maybe listeners are listening, but they can't respond. So probably you just go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
listened to. Can you hear me, all of you?
Yeah, we can. Personally, I can hear you.
Thank you, sir. I can also hear you loud and clear. So my concern about the country situation, first of all, I would like to thank Faith and Mr. Kach for having this space. It's really educative. Actually, I've forgotten about books. Every evening I'm here listening to what's about Kenya. Actually, what happened for the last 10 years, all of us have forgotten about Kenya. We're into business, we're into learning about TikTok, but now we are going Kenya into details. We have learned about the mining in Kenya, the business in Kenya, the industries, everything that's happening in Kenya. So now, the generation we are living now, we want to fight the battle for the last, like this battle we're not going to fight again in the next coming years. My biggest concern for the last years I've been thinking about Kenya. In every 5 years, we are hosting elections. Every 5 years. The amount we lose between the second last of elections and until we have the president being appointed and the cabinet, we usually lose around that billion. Roughly. Like if it starts from 2012 up to now, we have lost over 120 billion roughly in elections. That's what it's in the ministry media, that's what we hear. We have spent like 30 billion on election, 40 billion election, 20 billion, I don't know what. All that money we have lost. Recovering it in this economy, it's very difficult. And forgetting we have appointed new constitution, which is so, it's eating everything. All we have there is people who don't think about Kenya. They are not proud of, they are not even thinking about Kenya. Today I was checking all those pictures in Mukurukwajenga. They are so horrific. You don't want to say that you're a Kenyan. Kitambo used to say that I'm proud Kenyan. We rarely see people say that we are proudly Kenyans. That face has lost. Nobody is proud to be a Kenyan nowadays. It's so horrific. Every time you're going out here, trying to express that I'm a Kenyan. We used to have the Olympics. We have to have all those games, best president. We don't have that now. Everything we are seeing about Kenya is horrific images, bad reports, everything which is not even adding anywhere. So the way we are fighting today, we don't want our kids. Now everybody is here. Maybe I don't know much, but we are at least 25 and we are this young generation. Our fathers they fought, others they lost the battle, they even gave up. Now the kids who are here, we have experience from 2007 up to now. The worst time in Kenya, from 1998 coming all the way up to now. It has really happened. So we want to solve these things for better. And let's be it's the last day we are hearing about Kenya. We have people murdered. We have all those chaos. It's really a bad picture. Now, for the last 2 months, we don't know what is happening in Kenya. We are not focusing on business. We are not focusing on anything. It's only politics, maandamano. These people must go. But how much are we losing? We are losing, yes, because even we don't know what's happening in our ports. We don't know what's happening in our airports. We're only focusing on what the media is going to tell us, what the president is going to say. So the amount of things and time we are losing, recovering it, we need our own. Even if we have a new president, he's going to start from scratch. In 60 years in Kenya, we have never seen someone who has been like his account frozen. He has been stealing from government. We rarely hear those cases, but people have been doing corruption since day one. But how are we going forward? The only thing I wanted to ask Faye, whether do we have a law that which we can recall for the last 10 years in governance from, let's say, from Kibaki's era, those people who were there, can they be called upon asking, hey, we'll give you money on to do this project? Can we do it an audit? Then we don't care how many years it will take to get this guy to the books. We say, we never forget that we gave you 200 billion to build a dam, but you only use 100 billion. You owe us 100 billion. Let them know that they owe us money. Because now we still have young kids who are coming in the industry. They have no place to go. There was one guy who was speaking somewhere and he said, the only thing that's left in Kenya, we don't have food. We don't have jobs. We have nothing. The only thing that is remaining now is to eat the rich because there's nothing to eat. Even if we cannot eat ourselves. We have been seeing now, the only thing that's left in the table is to eat the rich. And who are the rich? We are not even stealing from ourselves. Even if you go to the town, people who are stealing, they are going through the big malls. They're going through it on the big shops. They're going on the big clubs. Because they have seen if they go there and they break Mama Kibada's kiosk, there's nothing to eat there. People used to go there and do pickpocketing. They should go there and steal small things from the shops. No. Nowadays, they are eating the rich. Now, if this rich get finished, where are we going to eat again? Now we are in Generation Z. We are eating the rich. Because now it's what's happening. Look at the crime rate there. It's so high. It's really, you cannot even speak about it. It's so high. Government has been separating themselves from us. We don't have enough place to go. We are here in the street every day struggling. Look at the jobless market. Look at the way we do our plan. Even our own companies. Go and check on your, thank those guys who are working. Go and do your company's audit. See all the bad things they do. From promotion. Look at our girls, the way they are being murdered. Because they are falling in the cheap trap because of what? Not that they are stupid or they are cheap or whatever. Because the system has not given them a good guidance on how to portray themselves. They're just trying to struggle at least. For us, like our parents, they work so hard to take us to school. You look at yourself, you be like, am I going to get married or I'm going to pay back my mom? Now I'm 32, I'm jobless. My mom is still there looking at me like, hey, son, I took you to school. I used all my effort and all my money. You want to see your mom proud. Everyone wants to see his mom proud, lady. You want to see your dad proud. You want to see your people proud. But they took all, you saw the skill they made for you to take you to school, everything. But now, whatever you're trying to put ahead into, there's no place to go. It's really painful. Now, we want to have a platform, a very good communication platform that the people who are coming after us, now our children, we don't want to fight this chaos we are having. Let's fight the last battle. This must be done immediately. We don't want to go back. Whatever is going to be done, let's be done. We are not, because now it's from 2007 now, we are only heading to 17 years. We're still fighting all these things. It is the only time we have. We have a very golden opportunity. Let's solve this one. The people who are coming, let it be. I spoke so much to people, they were like, no, it can't be working because it's so. I told them, If we are losing every year, like every 5 years, we're losing around 100 billions on election and whatever, how if we have a platform where any elected post, you run for 7 years and you are banned from politics, let's give another person. 5 years is for service. Before you live 2 years, we do your lifestyle audit. We give you 200 billion to do all those projects in your county or in your whatever. Where is that billion? Those 2 years will be deciding on you. You are going to jail or you are going to go home. Let everybody come up and we see how we can change Kenya. Because if we have a 7 years governorship, someone will be given 7 years. Those 2 years for you are audit lifestyle. How have you taken your place? Man, this money we are losing on elections each and every time by election. It's really a lot of money. Everything is still. There's nothing working in Kenya nowadays. Nothing, even the project, the laws. It's 2 years now. Nothing has been done. We came from France. Even the COVID woods, we are still fresh in our hearts. So the only thing I wanted to ask Faith is to tell me whether we can do a public audit from the people who have been there for the last 10 years. And if we can have a 7 years governorship, 7 years, and you are taken out, there's no election. If it's that can happen, maybe we can see there's a way forward. Those 5 years for your service, but 2 years you'll be doing a public audit. Let's just be there. Thank you.
Mr. Koch, who's the next speaker, please? Am I the one?
Please go ahead. Or can I go ahead, please?
Yeah, you can go on, Esther. You can go ahead because much is not responding, so you can just go ahead and we hear what you have. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Koch,
much.
just a minute.
Sorry.
Just a minute, please. Mr. Koch, mimi niko namba ngapi tafadhali? Ndio nisirukwe.
Please go ahead. Sitaki kuruka.
Okay, sawa sawa. Asanteni sana kwa hii nafasi. First, I'd like to... Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, personally, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the chance. First, I'd like to give my heartfelt condolences to our fallen comrades. May their souls rest in peace. Secondly, I'd like to wish all those who are injured, including myself, a quick recovery. So, nashukuru sana kupata hii nafasi na nashukuru, nimefurahi zaidi kuona pia Madam President ako hapa. Mimi ningeomba kusema vitu kadhaa kuhusu mimi mwenyewe kwanza na wale labda na wengine wengi ambao tuliumia kwa zile maandamano. On 25th Tuesday, hiyo maandamano, mimi nilipigwa risasi mara 8 kwa mgongo yangu. Alafu nikianguka chini, the policemen officers wakakuja tena wakanipiga kwa hii masikio ya right, mpaka hiyo eardrum ya right ikapasuka. I was taken to Kenyatta, nililazwa kwa siku 4, alafu nikarudi nikatoka baadaye. Sasa nikiwa Kenyatta nilipelekwa theater ambapo waliweza kutoa risasi 6 kati ya zile 8. Zile 2 bado zipo mpaka sasa hivi kwa mwili yangu vile naongea hapa. Kuhusu masikio, nilivyotoka Kenyatta, nilirudi Kenyatta on 4th, wakaenda wakashughulikia masikio, wakasema hiyo drum ilibust, kuna blood clot kwa hiyo drum hapo juu. So wakajaribu kunitibu kidogo, alafu wakanipea date ya 18th, ambapo kama haitakuwa ina heal, itabidi niende surgery, wanifanye surgery wachome hapo juu kulingana vile daktari alivyoniambia. Kuhusu mambo ya hizi risasi kwa mwili, nilikuwa hospital on 10th, ambapo ilikuwa nirudi theater nikafanyiwe nirudi theater ndo zikatolewe, lakini kufika ilishindikana kwa sababu ilikuwa amenibook kwa minor surgery, kwa minor theater So nilipofika pale daktari akasema lazima niende kwanza radiology zijulikane kwanza ziko wapi. Nikaenda radiology, wakanifanyia ultrasound na zikaonekana ziko mbali sana, in a way that haziwezi fuatwa hivyo manual. So wakasema on Monday daktari atakommunicate na mimi ambapo wataniambia ni siku gani naenda. Sasa nikifika ndo ni kama nitarudi kwanza radiology of ultrasound, nifanyiwe wire location, nidungwe wire mpaka mahali ziko, so that nikienda theater daktari anajua nakata wapi exactly, so that avoid ile kutafuta manual kama vile nilifanya last time. Niko na mashimo mingi sana kwa mgongo, ukienda kwa trail yangu utaona nilishia kila kitu. Sasa niko na challenge moja. Challenge niko nayo sana sana, samani kusema hivi, lakini mtu kama Hanifa mimi simuelewi, kwa sababu nimempigia simu mara mingi sana, wakati mwingi atashika simu. Nilipotoka hospitali ile mara ya kwanza, that was on I think it was on 30th last month. Nilimpigia simu, niliongea kwanza na Osama, alafu akatumia namba Hanifa, nikaongea na Hanifa, aliweza kunibaia dawa kidogo ambazo zilikuwa nimeandikiwa hiyo wakati. Can you guys hear me? Can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Sasa alivyoninunulia zile dawa za kwanza, ambapo anasema alinunua na pesa yake. Yeye anasema hiyo pesa, hiyo dawa alinunua na pesa yake, sio ya mchanga. So nashangaa pesa ya mchanga tulikuwa tunachanga ya kazi gani? Napata okay, challenge nyingine, unaona kama kwenda hizo hospitali. Mimi hali niko sahihi, siwezi panda matatu, siwezi like napanda Uber tena naambia driver nipeleke pole pole sana. Si kila mtu anaweza nipanda nayo speed. Wengine wana cancel, sema bro, hiyo utanipotezea wakati na cancel. Niko kwa nyumba, niko I'm all alone, sina chochote, like hata food ni shida. Kuna mahali nilikuwa nikienda hapo chini kuna hapo karibu tu na hapo nyumbani, kwa sababu karibu na plot yetu kuna hoteli hapo nyingine ya Kiswahili. So mama alikuwa akiniandikia bili hapo, lakini sasa ilibidi niache kwenda kwa sababu nimekuwa nikiona strange people around me. Nafuatwa tu, sijui nafuatwa sana. Unapata gari nakuja inasimama, mtu anakuja na kuangalia, alafu anatoka anaenda. So mpaka mama kanambia, Baha, are you sure these guys are not looking for you? Nikasema maybe kwa sababu naweza kuwa labda mimi wamefuata, but wanashindwa kuni approach kwa sababu mali niko na watu wengi, and then nikitoka hapa natoka na caretaker na vijana kadhaa hapa wananipeleka pale. Sasa you can pay in a way that ibidi nijifungie kwa nyumba, like sitoki kwa nyumba. Imagine niko kwa nyumba, nimeumia, sina hata food, nafaa kwenda dressing after 3 days, sina cash. Hiyo Uber kwenda Kenyatta from where I am, I reside in Utawala, mpaka Kenyatta mostly kuna 950 1050 huko kwenda kurudi, hiyo sina. Nikipigia Hanifa anaambia mimi sina pesa, mchanga watashughulika. Like the last time I was in hospital, it was on 10th, niliandikiwa dawa, nilitumia Hanifa hizo vitu zote, hizo risiti zote za dawa, mpaka leo sijapata shilingi ya dawa. Yani tunateseka tu. Nafaa kuwa dressing up every 3 days. Ilikuwa niende jana, sikuweza kwenda kwa sababu sina do ya kusafiri. Unajua hizi madawa naeko na daktari anakuambia ina 72 hours. So ikipita time inafaa kutolewa. Otherwise unaanza kupata infections. So juzi on Friday, on Thursday ndo akashika simu Hanifa, akanambia nimtumie detail. Mimi hata account yangu iko dormant. Nikaomba namba rafiki yangu, nikamtuma account actually nilitumia account ya landlord, nikamtumanishia. She didn't communicate. Come on Friday at around 3 huko ndo akashika simu, baada ya kupiga kama mara 4 ndo akashika simu. Ananiambia nimetuma details zako kwa mchanga, sijui wanasema sijui nini, sijui they have to verify, like what do you need to verify? What else do you need to verify that? Na kuambia kitu ukweli. Nikiwa Kenyatta nimemuita mara mingi, kama huamini niko na message zote akanisha kwa hizo comments muone. Kama huamini unaweza kuja unione mimi niko Kenyatta, ama kesho naenda Kenyatta saa fulani, kuja unione na receipt zote, majina zangu, ananiambia paka nimtumie ID, namtumia my ID, hizo discharge summary, hizo x-ray, hizo vitu zote, kadi ya hiyo ya hosi, kila kitu kwa jina yangu ambayo imematch exactly na ID yangu. Up to now hakuna support niko na. You cannot imagine you guys, sometimes nalazimika kunywa dawa na njaa. Yani inakuwa tu
Pole sana. Niko na swali.
Yes, please.
I would love to help you.
Yeah,
ulitumia Hanifa kwa WhatsApp ama kwa Twitter?
Nilimtumia kwa WhatsApp. Twitter hata block Twitter. Nilimtumia
alisema watu wamtumie kwa WhatsApp.
Nilimtumia kwa WhatsApp kutoka mara ya kwanza nikiwa Kenyatta, nikitoka Kenyatta, hizo dawa za kwanza nilinunua. Kila kitu nilimtumia WhatsApp kila kitu mpaka mwisho.
Okay.
I can screenshot everything, niziweke hapa kwa comments. If you guys want, that's what you want. Naweza screenshot, niziweke tu kwa comments, muone kila kitu vile tu hiyo conversation yote.
Okay. can maybe someone from LSK help? Someone who's in touch with
That's why I've said
Hanifa?
I'm happy to actually to be in this space na kupatia opportunity Madam President Faith Adhiambo akiwa hapa, maybe atasikia. Nimejaribu kumtafuta nikiwa Kenyatta, actually alikuja, lakini sikuwa naweza, nilimuona lakini sikuweza hata kutembea kufika hapo chini. Siwezi tembea. Uwezi imagine risasi 8 kwa mguu. Enda tu kwa TL yangu utaona hizo vitu zote. Hata hiyo first dressing, hizo mashimo vile ziko, kila kitu nimeshare, hizo ultrasound hapo, kila kitu nimeshare kwa nani. But I don't know what actually sielewi Hanifa, mimi sioni kama maana yeye hata actually kwa hizo trip zote za Uber alinilipia siku moja. Siku ya pili ambapo mpaka sasa can send you the cab driver, atakwambia niko na deni ya kwenda na kuna deni ya kurudi. Ya kwenda sio ilikuwa 850, ya kurudi ilikuwa 950. Hizo ni madeni watu Uber ananipigia mpaka leo. Uzuri mimi simu yangu kinipigia na record automatic. I can share the voice, msikie watu wakiniambia wewe lipa pesa yetu bwana mpaka hello. Imefika mahali mpaka the cab driver, kwa sababu ni watu wa Uber, anapea mtu mwenye gari namba, anasema huyu mtu hakunilipa. Unapata mtu anakupigia, mimi ni mwenye gari, mbona hukulipa gari? Nashanga kwani watu wajijua tu ile situation niko. But mimi najaribu kupembeleza tu, kwa tafadhali, si ati najaribu tu nitumie pesa, nitakutumia. Ningekuwa nayo ningekupatia hata hapo, which they don't understand. Yani mi kama Madam President, Mr. Kach and whoever is here, mwenye tu wote mko hapo mnasikia, kama naweza pata msaada wote, at least hata kama ni food, kama ni current tu kwa hii mwezi na anything, na hizo movement za hosi na hizo dawa, basi sitaki hata vitu mingi, ama hata kama nyuma, that is my issue, lakini hata kama ni food tu na hizo movement za hosi na hizo dawa, mimi nitashukuru. Up to now Hanifa anaweza kutumia ziko zako, nasikia nakwambia hapana, mimi unajua hiyo ni mchanga itafanya hiyo pesa nilikubaia, hata hiyo ilikuwa yangu, unajua mimi sina pesa, mimi siwezi kutumia kitu, like unajua mimi ni pesa yangu nilitumia mchanga, mimi sina, yani sielewi, like sasa shwali wewe kama ndo unafusika alafu naambia unatumia pesa yako, kumaanisha basi pesa tuchanga kwa mchanga itusaidie. Pasa na sioni msaada wake, kwa sababu mtu akikwambia tumia pesa yake na mchanga iko shwali, wewe unaweza semaje? You guys can hear me? Can you
Yes,
guys
we
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Can hear you, bro.
Mimi
Continue.
sina mingi, ilikuwa tunataka tu kujieleza ile situation inapitia. Labda niseme tu tusirudi nyuma, kwa sababu hata mimi vile tunasikia uchungu, but ningepata dawa, ningepata the strongest painkiller, believe you me guys, ningekuwa Tuesday hapo mbele, msero mbele sana, like hatufai kurudi nyuma, kwa sababu mama tumeachana hii kitu, like mimi nitakuwa nilimia bure, wale wenzetu walikufa atakuwa walikufa bure. Sasa ilikuwa ina maana gani? Sasa ikifika tumefika, tunafaa kwenda mbele. Tukiangalia vizuri, kama wale mnajua kusoma body language, the guy is weak, like Ruto ameanza kutia njeve, so tukisukuma vizuri we can finally nimepotea hata samani. So tukiendelea kusukuma vizuri, hatimaye tutashinda. Mimi nisema tu tusukume zaidi, Tuesday tutoke kwa wingi, tutoke sana kwa wingi, na tafadhali mjaribu kuona kwa niko sure si mimi tu, mimi nimepata nafasi ya kuongea, maybe kuna wengine pale nyuma ambapo hawana nafasi, hawajapata nafasi ya kuongea. Mnapata hata mtu yuko Twitter, mtu kama yule anasaidikaje ama anasikikaje? Simona sasa watu wanaumia hapa chini ya maji.
Mimi ningependa kusaidia. I'm not in LSK, lakini
Yes.
naweza jaribu kutuma documents zako kwa Hanifa na niongee naye, nijaribu juu chini vile nitamshika kwa WhatsApp.
Hanifa, labda mkumbushe jina tu, document zote ako nazo. Let me do this, let me share the screenshots hapa muone zote sasa hivi tu, just now.
Esther, I have a little addition to this. For accountability purposes, is it possible to just do an email with all the attachments and to do a group of 3 to 4 people, so that in case Hanifa has a lot in her hands, another person is able to help and continue with the progress, and everyone within the email is able to see how far this person is being helped?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. So I am really sorry about how what is happening to the previous speaker, but next time just do a group of 2 to 3 people when you're doing a communication, so that In case of something, in case anything happens to you, you are able to let and every other people know. Haina haja utume screenshots with everything, but if this is LSK's, if LSK are accountable, they should be able to be using their official emails, like the LSK emails. Lakini wakitumia WhatsApp, that is their personal phone, and that might get lost. So please, I know everyone's hands are full at the moment, and maybe and Hanifa is trying her best, but Esther is here to help. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hanifa is quite overwhelmed. Remember, she's doing it as she works. She has a full-time job as she does this on the side, and also she's not handling the funds personally. Mchanga is the one sending the funds to the hospital, so she's not handling any money herself.
So, how do you advise? Should I share my email, maybe?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
You could DM me and the lady who spoke. We can share our emails maybe and proceed from there.
Okay, Sikuoni, Esther. A minute.
Let me tweet you or DM you right now.
Yeah, maybe your DM is locked.
I'm really sorry about what's going on. Is there someone you can reach out, like a nurse friend that can come and wash the wounds and dress the wounds barely at home with just clean water, or anything that can help to protect you from getting an infection? Meanwhile, is there someone that can just help you now that you can't go out of your house?
Maybe I just I just go to the nearest facility.
Yeah.
Which is Bristol Park, which they need payment because that is actually a private facility.
Or maybe fanya ile mambo ya kitambo. Just wash with warm salty water and just let them dry.
It is at my back.
Unless, some that you can't wash on your back, ask someone to wash them for you, because now that the doctor has said that you have to go in for surgery now, for the other 2 bullets, you don't want to be infected, because getting an infection again will let you stay longer for the other 2.
Another thing,
one thing, may I just say this? Hanifa and Mchanga are processing bills through Kenyatta Hospital or Nairobi West. So if you're going to a different private facility, you'll really struggle. So I suggest that you go to one of those 2, Nairobi West or Kenyatta Hospital. I've seen bills being settled for those 2 facilities, and it will help Hanifa because she's quite busy.
Esther, now the challenge is nadhani nimesema hivyo, mimi niko Utawala. Now imagine the distance from Utawala to Nairobi West or to Kenyatta Hospital. It's almost the same from where I stay. Na hiyo sasa hiyo movement siwezi panda mata, hiyo inafaa cab, which I need funds. Understand? That is the main challenge actually I'm facing. Kwa sababu kwenda si shida, like hakuna tunafanya, na mimi mwenyewe ningependa kwenda nishughulikiwe ndo nipone, lakini je, nafikaje? Esther, can you hear me?
So I'm sorry. So the issue here is transport from your house to the hospital, but the treatment we are saying it will be covered by the Mchanga, right?
Yes, treatment huko Kenyatta sijalipishwa kitu, ni tu dawa naandikiwa. Hizo ndo
So the issue here is transport from your house to Nairobi Hospital. I'm sorry, Esther. Is it? I think that's what I heard, that the transport is a problem from his house in Utawala, then to Nairobi Hospital or to Kenyatta Hospital, right?
Yeah.
So there's no issue with the treatment and the other stuff, right?
Huko sijaitishwa kitu. huwa
Okay,
ninatuma
thank you.
liposema na
So the
pointos
issue is your movement from your house to the hospital, right?
na zile dawa
Okay.
naandikiwa sasa pillars.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes. Yes, please. Esther, nimekudemo umepata? Esther, nimekudemo umepata?
Yes, nimepata, nitakudm pia.
Halafu ule mada mwingine kwa naongea ni nani? Ndio nimwekee email kwa nini yake? Alikuwa Rosemary?
No, alikuwa Charity.
My
siwezi.
name is Charity, and what's your name?
Prince Baha.
Prince Baha.
Yes.
I trust the LSK team. You don't have to send me those pictures, but
Okay.
when a thread of an email is set up and
Yeah.
all the communication is on there, you should be able to track everything and know what is going on. Okay?
Thank you, madam. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Okay, mimi nadhani kufikia hapo sina lingine la ziada. Ningesema tu tusisahau hashtag Ruto must go. They're really just bad ban those guys, but actually mimi sijilaumu. Kwa situation yangu sijilaumu, like sioni kama niliumia nikifanya kitu ambayo haifai. Actually naona niliumia nikifanya the right thing. So I have no regrets. Thank you.
Thank you. Esther, do you want to speak or I can go? I know there was a list, but if I
Please
can...
go. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Charity, and I think I may not match up the energies in here, but just a common mwananchi. I just have a few things. I have been listening in from the Citizens Assembly, and thank you everyone for showing up and taking some time to contribute. We really thank everyone, especially Gen Zs, for sparking this. I am sorry for someone that lost a family member that got hurt, and the future is going to be better than today. I know we have lost lives that we did not have to, but my first question to the Citizens Assembly is, what happened to our discipline? What happened to our culture? We have been embracing corruption. We have been feeding this monster. Now the monster came back to bite us. What happens to our leaders that, they are so remorseful and humble during campaigns, and then when they get to power, they turn against us? Are we willing to change? Are we willing to change the culture? We are money oriented. We have monetized everything. Ukienda kutafuta birth certificate ama kipande ama passport, unapeana chai kidogo, and then everything, you get what you need within a very short time. Who is going to stand up for this? How are we going to change this? A head teacher is the person that tunamtegemea atupatie records ya mwalimu mwenye hajakuwa akienda shule. Head teacher mwenyewe hayuko shule. The same teacher is not in school, but we are depending on him to give us attendance. Can TSC do something, a different thing on how to take the attendance of the head teacher? We have apps everywhere. I know there are some schools that are using apps, but how can we make everyone accountable for what they are doing? Why do we have to give sitting allowance to our MPs? When they go to parliament, at the end of the day, they still get to be given their salaries at the end of the month. We are spending a lot of money that is not to be spent. We could channel that money into different places and different positions that can help us. What gaps or barriers do we have for public participation? I am sure my county, I come from Nandi County. I'm sure my county, there are some If I go there right now, I will get records of public participation that happened, but no one showed up, but names were made up. And someone pocketed money. How do we change that? LSK, can you help us go all the way down to the counties? What happens when a finance officer of the highest rank is ordered by a governor or the president to allocate some money or not sign or sign for some allocation that was not constitutional, that's unconstitutional? How do we turn that around? So there is so much. We have to do vetting. I know we did vetting previously for our leaders, but what did we get out of the vetting? Did we have someone actually being sent home because they were found with a mistake, or we just like covering up? So we have to look at ourselves too. What time do you get to work? Your own discipline. What time do you get to work? Do you take the necessary break to walk back to the office on time? Government vehicles zinatembea tembea past 5 p.m. just in the name of tulikuwa kazi. How do we manage this? Do we even need those many cars? Do we even need those many vehicles and the drivers? It's been evident that we do not need the amount of staffing that we need in our country. Na hiyo ndio inatukula zaidi. Hiyo ndio inatuma. Tunaenda kuomba pesa huko nje, tunakuja kulipia staffing. It's so unfortunate that we just got some people sacked the other day. Retention, hiring, and the entire thing for staffing is expensive for everyone. It is expensive. I don't know where we are headed to. I saw some people clapping, but we are at a loss as a country. It's really hard to do the entire HR process. Kuanza tena kuandika watu wengine kazi, kukuja kufanyia our training. And I know someone will eat something out of this process again. How do we pay our salaries? Can someone look into that? Just a high school or a basic certificate, MP, analipwa same na mwenye ni MD daktari. Why? Why? Who gave a flat rate? The remuneration, the salaries and remuneration commission. Who is doing all these kinds of things? I'm sorry I have spoken a lot, but I just had to pass that along, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Can I speak with, or someone would like to go ahead?
You go ahead, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to bring to our attention what's happening to the education sector. I've noticed that from the ECD, actually, let me go back to the health and education sector. This government, we all know that the university fees have been hiked, and HELB, that was working perfectly, has also been tampered with. I don't know, they've come up with a whole new system which the poor cannot access. I want to just bring to your attention and highlight that this is the first government since the Kenyatta government that has tampered with university education. In Uhuru's time, the HELB was functional. The fees were below 30,000, 40,000. They're now over 100,000 per semester. The previous government, Kibaki's government, not only did we have the free education, free primary education, but again, HELB was working and funding government-sponsored students in university. Moi's government, my brother studied during President Moi's government, and he used HELB as well. So this is the first government that is trying to strip the poor. And